Then may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
The following is a world-class Bullshitters exclusive.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Tuesday night here on World Class Bullshitters. It's time for the High Council. I'm your host, Jeff Hicks, and with me tonight is my co-host, Caffeinated Wolf.
Hey, what is going on, Jeff? What is going on, chat? Hail to you, hail to the High Council. We've got some fantastic guests tonight.
We do. You said guests plural.
I did not misspeak.
Folks will be joined in just a moment by our friend, ScriptDoctor, PhD. You know him, we love him. But tonight we have a very special guest. Say hello to WDW Pro.
Well, it's a pleasure to be back on, and to everybody out there in the chat, hail to everybody out there. What a fun time we're going to have over the next hours. So happy to be here, Jeff.
Happy to have you, man. Before we start, folks, a few things. We will be at Horror Hound this weekend in Indianapolis, Indiana, so you can join us this weekend, the 18th through the 20th. Hang out with us, get your copies of all of our awesome books, and share a drink with the World Class Bullshitters crew. But if you can't make it, that's okay, because the guys and I are filming a ton of content, and some of those big surprises and changes we've been talking about for the channel are finally happening. So be on the lookout for that this weekend. And one more thing before we start. Today's video is brought to you by me, Jeff Hicks, and my book, Stealing Solo. Go to stealingsolo.com to get yourself the greatest Star Wars parody since Spaceballs. Folks, this is not a sales tactic. We are down another case. These things are moving. I am very, very happy. People like Stealing Solo, and I'm happy to ship it out. So, if you want to get a copy, go to the website after this stream, get one. I will make sure books are shipped out like they are every single weekday, and you'll have yours very soon. All I ask in return, besides telling you thank you, is just post on social media that you get your copy so I can share it all over and everyone knows that you're part of the crew. But guys, it's time to start tonight's show with the word of the day from Shrubbles08, which is Butterfingers. So here we go, guys. Debbie does Butterfingers, Star Wars X rays Butterfinger action, and dude, where's my Butterfingers? Folks, you can play along at home with all of your wonderful Butterfinger titles, like Clear and Present Butterfingers, or How I Met Your Butterfingers Mother. So there you go.
Never mind. I'm going to keep that
How
one.
I Butterfingered Your Mother? Okay, man. Okay.
Listen.
The channel's called World Class Bullshitters, all right? We are clearly not super duper X-rated, but we're also not like going to be played at a Catholic church. Believe me, I know.
Yes.
I grew up in one. We're not going to be played at church. So anyway, Pro, great to have you back on the channel. Tonight, I wanted to ask you a couple questions because we have had the Disney Investor Day call last week, and a lot of big changes were coming for Disney. And so I wanted to talk to you about that, as well as ask you some of the things you think might be coming, some of the changes for Disney, because the biggest entertainment company on the planet keeps eating dirt. Every single week, there's new articles about bad decisions, new information about subscribers lost, park attendance, hotel closures, movies that aren't going to be released on time, writer strikes, and a whole lot more. And 2023 is just a very bad year for Disney across the board. So, I wanted to know what you thought about their overall investor call. Do you think things are looking brighter than they were 2 weeks ago? Or are we going to go down the path of 2023 will not see a profitable film?
Well, Jonas J. Campbell had a very good observation of how these things sort of work, because we were looking at all of the information that came through on the earnings report. None of it really stands out as being positive. And so there was a curiosity in the audience, all of our viewers asking, well, why in the world is the stock going up? And it's sort of like when you have the State of the Nation address from the President of the United States. Typically what happens is you see a brief pop in the polls. And that seems to be what happened with the investors as well. Taking a look at where we're at now in aftermarkets trading, and by the way, ladies and gentlemen, we're not here to give you financial advice. If you'd like financial advice, you got a financial advisor in your own area who is accredited and trustworthy, that you can trust them with your money. We're not them. But in aftermarket trading right now, we're down to $86.70 for the stock. That puts it within $1 yet again of its low for the past 5 years. So clearly the bump is gone. This thing was up over 90 following the earnings report. Now, one of the reasons that I think Disney is particularly weak, beyond the fact that we're getting breaking news tonight that the Walt Disney Company is being sued for allegedly deceiving their partners when it comes to their movie budgets. Wow, huh? I mean, we've actually been we have been reporting the rumors that was happening. And what's really funny about this is, so they came out and there were repeated reports that Indiana Jones: The Dial of Destiny cost something like $295 million in its production budget.
Sweet.
And so
baby
Valiant
Jesus.
Renegade had come out and had pushed back against that and said, no, actually it's 332. And then simultaneous, I was hearing from our sources at Lucasfilm that no, it was actually above 350, and maybe not by a little. And so this goes right in line with what we've been hearing. I mean, we've been hearing crazy numbers for some of their movies. For example, we have heard that Rise of Skywalker / Rise of Palpatine actually came in close to $500 million in production. That is insane. Yes. And so that would make it a movie that actually lost money. And what this does is, if Disney refuses to settle, this is going to open those books in Discovery for us to find out actually how much their movies are costing. That would be amazing. But the box office is an issue for Disney, but the earnings call, I think, really put them in a precarious position because it revealed that Disney has been losing something like 100,000 subscribers per month in North America. Now, North America is the lead market. It's also the highest profit margin market for Disney Plus, and it can portend what will happen in future markets elsewhere in the world. So for Disney to be losing hundreds of thousands of subscribers, over 500,000 subscribers in 6 months alone, at a time when the market is largely moving to streaming and away from linear broadcast, that came out of the Hollywood Reporter yesterday, is that for the first time ever, streaming is now the majority of viewership on TVs. Disney would seem to be a boat that should be climbing up with the tide, and yet they're falling. Everything else is climbing. Disney is falling in North America. That is a huge, huge story. And so you take that and then you realize that Disney is simultaneously going to cannibalize Hulu and bring Hulu into their Disney Plus service, make Hulu be just a blade at the top of their various franchises. So you'll have Star Wars, Marvel, Disney, Pixar, Hulu. And that will be what Hulu becomes over time. Now, it will continue to exist for a while as its own entity, but we believe that in December, and we've had this leaked to us, it's called Project Hulk. We've seen internal documents. We've actually put some of those internal documents out on YouTube, but we believe that Disney will bring in Hulu to be just a part of their Disney Plus service, and then transition that over time to more and more full integration of those two apps into a singular app. So all of that is really interesting. You combine that too with Disney Plus. Now the announcement is that in 2024 they're going to eliminate the account sharing. They're going to make it so that they follow that Netflix path. The difference for Netflix and Disney is that people want Netflix, and it seems like people are abandoning Disney. So how does it work when you begin to strangle out the customers who perhaps were riding on their parents' Disney Plus account? If you force them to try to buy the service, I'm not sure they're going to.
And where do all those views go?
Yes, and the other curious thing about that too is that in the market, it's known as a friction point. Because if you have people sharing an account, what happens is that you may be paying for the account and you may be willing to part ways with Disney. But if the friend that you have wants to continue using it, it's a little bit more tricky for you to drop the service. And you may say, well, it's just, $12, $15 a month. Who cares? We'll keep it because, Joe or Jill or whoever, they want to keep watching Disney Plus, so I'll keep it for them. If you remove that, it's also curious, how many people will say, oh, well, never mind then, since we're not sharing the account, I'm just going to drop it. We don't know. So all of that came forth in the Disney earnings call. Walt Disney World attendance is also down. That is very concerning, considering it is the crown jewel of all of their revenue sources, period. So that is, I guess, an overview of what happened in the earnings call. There was plenty more, but I think those are the big ones. And I think that based on what I'm truthfully telling you, that's why the investors now have already eliminated the bump that we saw coming out of it.
I think the most interesting piece out of that, and my boss, you guys know him, Eric July, Younger by 5'9", creator of the Rippaverse. He's been saying this for a while. The really interesting thing is going to be when we start seeing the parks start dropping in attendance, start dropping in revenue, because all this other stuff they've been able to subsidize by the money that they get from the parks.
And that's happening now. So Eric's exactly right. And we're in that point now where the way you got to see the Disney company is it's a cyclical engine, right? And so part of that engine is that the content they produce gets eyeballs from children, families, etc. And then that content is replicated in the parks in such a way that you can experience it. So you go to the parks to experience the content that you love. And then the parks, at the same time, send you to go watch more of the content. And so you keep this little engine going, right? It's a little battery. The problem is that once we saw Disney content take the hit, it was just a question of how long would it be until the parks took a hit. Disney could have probably kept the parks going, Disney World specifically, because they provide something that no other place in the world can do, right? When you take your child down Main Street, that is a generational shared experience. It's something that you remember from when you were a child. You want your child to experience it. Disney has that. Nobody else does. So the problem is for Disney that they hyper monetized the parks to the point that they drove away the customers who may have been willing to put up with Disney's stupidity and nonsense to walk their kid down Main Street. Those customers now are saying, so you're telling me when I go through the turnstile, that's just the beginning of you separating my my Lincolns, my Washingtons, my Benjamins from my wallet? I'll take a pass and go to Universal.
And I hate to sound like a shill because I don't live out here anymore or out there anymore, but Universal just offered a lot of value for what you get. We did the Disney thing one time. It's kind of pricey for not a whole lot of fun. It's definitely something for children that, since I don't have any, I don't see it the same way. But I've always looked at the Disney parks as something that was, I guess it's just for families. And since I don't have one, I've never really been interested in it. But having gone as a child, even then I didn't enjoy it. It just felt too, I don't want to say too safe because you don't want to be dangerous or feel dangerous in these places. But I've always felt that the Disney parks were a level of saccharine. Also, they featured characters that aren't relevant anymore. They're only relevant in Disney World. How many people do you see wearing Goofy, Mickey, Minnie Mouse, Donald Duck stuff anymore?
And that's a failure of the company, by the way. The failure of the company is that they should be keeping their most well-known characters relevant, but they have failed to do so. You're exact. I mean, that is a massive point. What kind of company lets their mascot, fall down and not be known so well anymore? Can you imagine if Nintendo decided, we're going to stop promoting Mario? We don't care about people knowing Mario. Can you imagine if Sega was like, you know what? The only thing we have is Sonic. Let's stop making that. I mean, they might not make it well, but still they're making it because they know, hey, our brand is tied to this character. Disney's is Mickey.
The Sonic point you made is great because I keep failing to realize that Sonic the Hedgehog is still relevant. I was a kid when it was new, and so I kind of was like, okay, Sonic has evolved and changed, but Sonic has a foothold in popular culture that really hasn't waned. He may be like not Mario, but he's still such a prominent part. I mean, Dion has kids and they love Sonic the Hedgehog and they talk about their friends that like Sonic the Hedgehog. You go online, there's a whole culture around Sonic the Hedgehog, both normal and Rule 34 level. But like Sonic, there's so many different brands that can stand the test of time. But the Disney stuff, even back 30 years ago when I was growing up, a lot of these Disney characters felt like kind of archaic. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The Warner Brothers characters definitely feel more relevant, especially with something like a Space Jam that took all of their repertoire of original characters and made them relevant. We all. If
LeBron is listening right now. No, we don't need another LeBron. That's not what he's talking about.
No, thank you. That might have been the shittiest movie I saw in 2021. Well, was the Eternals 2021, Andrew?
I think Eternals was 20.
I'm pretty sure it was 2022.
That was okay. So whatever that was the worst of that year. But no, Space Jam 2 was such a disappointment. But I think what it comes
to 2021 at the very end.
What comes down to for me with a lot of the Disney branded stuff is they have hid behind their acquired brands. Their Star Wars, their Marvel. I mean, Marvel has always had a strong presence. Well, not always. For the last 40 years, they've had a strong presence. But ever since Disney bought them, those are our big superheroes. That's that. Warner Brothers has more of an identity than just DC that appeals to boys and girls. Disney's like just mainly Marvel these days in terms of like mainstream appeal. When I walk down the
and they've ran that into the ground.
Oh God, can you imagine like what November, what the Miss Marvel and the Marvels 2 is going to be like, or whatever it's called? Like, you think that movie's going to make billions of dollars?
Oh,
I will
heck
have
no.
We'll have Pro on to talk about the inflated budget and the failing box office and all the bullshit that went on behind the scenes. Like, I'm ecstatic to hear about more of the behind the scenes juicy details about Disney being sued over production budgets, Pro, because you can just tell when they make up this crap. Like, I'd like to know exactly how much they actually spent on Indy, how much they actually spent on Secret Invasion, how much they've spent on every one of these movies that has lost.
Secret Invasion was $250 million.
Oh, it's even more than I read in the news.
Oh,
Okay.
my word.
$250 million for that piece of crap. Okay.
For
Guys,
six,
it
was
just
it
came
6
out.
episodes?
So, yeah, it's insane.
Nobody watched it?
So what just came out was, I mean, this is within the last 24 hours. Willow, the horrible failure out of Lucasfilm, that show had about $100 million production budget. However, and this came out through the trades. However, that was just for pre-production and principal photography. They didn't include the number for post-production. So that means that Willow is looking at something like $150 to $180 million for Willow. That means that thing is costing more than $20 million an episode easily. And that thing was taken off of Disney Plus in 5 weeks. They got a problem. And I'll tell you, here's where I think the problem has crescendoed. They have reached the apathy stage. And what I mean is, 14 months ago, I broke the story that Hugh Jackman was going to be signed to come to the MCU. And part of that scoop that I had, and thank you to the source for helping me with that scoop, but part of that scoop was that he was signing a multi-movie deal. Okay? So then we get the announcement after D23 of last year that yes, Hugh Jackman was coming to the MCU and he was going to be playing Wolverine in the next Deadpool film. Fantastic. And so people said, oh, wow, Pro, great job. You know, and that was actually the first big scoop that I revealed on the Valiant Renegade channel. So as he and I were starting to do stuff together, that was the first one that I announced on his video. And so, but then on the opposite side, you had people say, well, but Pro got it wrong because it's not a multi-movie deal. Just came out in this past week that no, it was a multi-movie deal like I reported. Hugh Jackman is going to be in Secret Wars. And then on top of that, what I found out was, Marvel is attempting to course correct right now. And so at least that's one part of Disney that's trying it. And so what I found out was that their plan is to put Wolverine and Spider-Man together. And they think that will drive huge audiences. And fair enough, right? If you asked me, if you said, Pro, you need to be a consultant for Marvel, what would you do? That's what I would do. I would literally put Hugh Jackman and Tom Holland and maybe bring in the other Spider guys, bring in Andrew Garfield. Like, that's what I would do because that's your best you've got. If you're playing poker, those are the cards that you could actually play and win. And the response to that announcement was, meh, it's too late. I don't care about Marvel anymore. Let Disney burn, etc. And so I took a moment to think about that, because it's like, you've got to listen to the audience. And I think that Disney has put itself in a position now where people simply don't care. Mm-hmm. They despise this company, and they have burned too many bridges now, and it's spilled out into the normies. It's spilled out into the cultural consciousness that if you're a moderate or anywhere to the right of moderate, that Disney is not your friend, and you're not a friend of them either. And that's the way it is. And I don't know what they're going to do to break it.
I can't believe that's the response because I've kept my head down. I've been working on a couple of other things, but as a comic book fan, as somebody who makes this stuff, I've always wanted to see Wolverine and Spider-Man together on film. And I've actually, when you were talking, I thought to myself, do I care enough to get excited? And I thought, the possibility's cool, but the execution has been so bad for so long that I guess I fall into the apathy camp, even though I still read comic books and still like to watch Marvel cartoons and think about stuff. It even hits somebody like me who was inspired by this stuff to make it myself. That's
Jeff,
sad because Hugh Jackman was the man.
Jeff, Wolf, think about this. We are 5 years removed from 2018. 2018 was the big time, right? That's when there was so much excitement about what was going to happen with Endgame. everyone wanted to know how this was going to come to a close. If a Wolverine, Spider-Man, Avengers movie, where Wolverine and Spider-Man are going to lead the Avengers, and Hugh Jackman is there, if that was announced back in 2018, that is a $2 billion movie.
Easy, with their eyes closed.
Right. And now it's a collective yawn. And that is impressive. You could not sit down at the control panel of the Walt Disney Company and manage to make that many people stop caring about your product if you tried.
They've done it in spectacular fashion.
It's really, really sad. I've said this a number of times. They got away. They got complacent. They got lazy. They went through a period of several years where they were just crapping out billion-dollar films. Eric has said this all the time as well. They were crapping out billion-dollar films faster than they could make them. And after Endgame, that thing just destroyed records and made a ton of money. It did great. People enjoyed it. And they were like, we can just hit cruise control now. And they were able to do that for a little bit, but very quickly, I think we're seeing now, especially now more than ever, we're seeing the end results of what happens when you shun your guaranteed money, your guaranteed revenue. Your longtime fans and customers are going to see this stuff multiple times in theaters. They're going to buy the action figures. They're going to buy the Blu-ray. They're going to buy all the stuff. They're going to wear the T-shirt every single one of those 6 times they go see it in theaters. All of it. They traded that for the normies, the general audiences. They were like, hey, we need to get these people. This is why we're going to start making the movies matter less and less when it comes to the source material, when it comes to the characterizations of these characters. A lot of these characters are going to just start being these characters in name only, or in suit only, or in powers only. Their characterizations could be completely different. You wouldn't know who the heck they are if you were listening to them, on radio instead of actually looking at them, because they think that's enough, right? And they get more of these, quote unquote creatives that don't know who these characters are, don't care who these characters are. They're going to cater to the normies, because normies don't know Peter Parker from Luke Skywalker. They don't know the difference, and they don't really care. They just want to be a part of the conversation, whatever the popular thing is. Well, you burned even the normies out. They don't even care now. So now you're left with nothing.
So let me ask you guys a question. I think you're exactly right, Andrew. So think about this, and this is what every investor should be asking, and maybe they already are. Maybe this is why we see what's happening with the stock price. So we know statistically that the giant push across all of society is to go to streaming, right? That is the marketplace. The marketplace is moving away from linear broadcast. They're going to streaming. On every single major TV brand's remote now is a Disney Plus button, right? Not a Hulu button, a Disney Plus button. There's a Netflix button there too, but there's a Disney Plus button. How are you losing 500 million customers in 6 months if every remote has that Disney Plus logo looking at you? How are you losing 500 million customers if everyone is going to streaming and you're supposed to be the biggest entertainment company in the world?
By not having content that people give a crap about.
Except for Bluey, the little Australian dog who, folks...
That's saving their butts right now.
Bluey,
it's all on
Disney.
Bluey.
Disney doesn't even own Bluey. They censor Bluey every time they can because they hate Bluey. And yet Bluey had ratings in the last report from Nielsen quadrupling Secret Invasion. Quadrupling the Marvel flagship show for the quarter, Bluey.
That's so fascinating to me because as somebody who likes, let's just say it like this, I like a majority of the stuff that's on Disney Plus. And what I mean by that is I like Spider-Man. I like The Simpsons. I love Star Wars. I like a lot of the things they have there. I also can get those anywhere else because I'm a fan and I've had Indiana Jones has hit Disney Plus. Aren't you excited? Got it on 4K 2 times over.
Yeah.
It's you name it, I'm already a fan of it. I don't see the value of it. And I think here's the weird thing. I've kept it for the channel after the free subscription ran out because I thought, well, we talk about this stuff for YouTube. And in reality, if I'm not watching something for the channel, I'm not watching anything on Disney Plus. I have no interest in it for so many reasons beyond just I don't like their layout, I don't like their content, I love the color blue, it's my favorite color, their whole platform is blue, you'd think I'd be excited to watch it. For me personally, I've reached a point of streaming oversaturation to because I have so many choices, I don't know where to start. I find myself doom scrolling on my phone and watching stupid shorts on YouTube or on Facebook over anything on streaming.
Dopamine hits.
Dopamine hits. I guess that's what it is. And it's so bizarre how like I have it and I don't use it. And I don't think after Ahsoka I'll keep it until something relevant to this channel arises, because it's just it's almost valueless to me. It has a lot of value in quotations, but I mean, their products that they put on there, they've mismanaged to the point of where that apathy has seeped in for me. Like, I used to say, man, one day when I can stream every episode of The Simpsons, I'm going to sit down and watch it nonstop. I've watched maybe 10 episodes of The Simpsons on Disney Plus since it debuted on Disney Plus. There's nothing that gets me hooked. But then on Hulu, I'll watch King of the Hill like it's going out of style. So it all just depends on, what's on these platforms. But like you said, it is on every TV remote. On the Roku in the living room, the little Disney Plus button is there. It is the least... I use Pluto TV that's ad-supported more than I use Disney Plus.
It's so bad that on my channel, one of the easiest pieces of content that I could possibly do would be to review major flagship Disney Plus shows, right? So when Loki comes out, maybe I'll get to do that. But it's so bad that Secret Invasion comes out. Samuel L. Jackson, lead actor in it, right? Samuel L. Jackson, big name. The ratings are so low that I can't even review the episodes. Nobody cares. So you can mock it at the end of the show, but doing that review coverage of it, not going to work. It was the same thing with Andor. The ratings are so low for those shows that nobody's caring about how the review is. They just want to know, well, how much money did it lose? So
I have found, and I'll gladly share this with you off air if you'd like, but I have found a conversation talking point when it comes to these Star Wars streaming shows that will get people to engage with you. So if you're interested, just hit me up on Twitter and we'll
Kathleen
talk.
Kennedy is fired, folks. That's what we're going with. 24 hours a day.
She's gone this time.
She's been hauled out of there. And by the way, for those of you out in the audience, Kathleen Kennedy will never be fired. When she exits, she will exit with grace and aplomb, and she will receive many, many awards, rewards, and she will get executive producer credits because they want to part as kindly as they can with her so that they do not anger some of her friends, but mostly because there's a huge, vast number of women in Hollywood who think that Kathleen Kennedy hung the moon and the stars, and they don't want to make them mad at them.
Well, I'm glad you speak on that the way you do, because I'm glad the questions also get stopped, or have stopped being asked every week. Is she gone? Is she gone? Look, I'm not here to knock anyone's hustle. If you could make that work, knock it out of the park. But I don't even care. When she does go away and do her own thing, it's going to be like, all right, well, awesome.
Well,
you fucked everything else up, though.
She will leave, and I have said for now years that she'll leave in 2024. Her contract comes up in 2024. We think that she's actually this week in severance negotiations with the Disney company. But the idea that she's going to be humiliated or insulted, that she's going to be fired or terminated,
Never gonna happen.
That is not going to happen. And she will continue because, even after she leaves Lucasfilm, you are going to see her name on the credits for some of these Star Wars movies. She's probably going to be on set, hamming it up. She'll be on the red carpet. She may not be in charge, and for Disney, that would be fantastic because she is. She's almost as big a disaster for Star Wars as Rachel Zegler is for Snow White, which really says something about Rachel Zegler. But when it comes time for Kathleen Kennedy to exit, she will do so in a way that is graceful to her and gives all the appearance that she did a phenomenal job. She'll have lifetime awards being given out. She'll be on the stage giving her speeches. Just like ScriptDoctor one day.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait for my golden parachute where I'm lauded for screwing up massively.
Hey, Script, what do you think about that budget on Willow? Have you seen that yet?
No, I haven't. I've been, most of my day has been just kind of reading and writing. So I've only been on the internet since like 6 o'clock.
Well, let me plug too. Valiant Renegade is going to have a video. It's either out tonight or it'll be out in the morning covering this Willow situation. It's insane. But I was just telling them, Script, that Willow, it came out in the trades today, had a $100 million budget for production. And you might think, well, that's, okay. That's actually less than what we've seen in the past. No, Script. Buried in the trades, that was the pre-production and principal photography. It does not include the post-production. So there's, this thing cost $150 to $180 million to make Willow that lasted 5 weeks before they took it off for a tax write-down.
Well, I mean, they essentially decanonized it. So, I mean, that's a good thing if you're a Willow fan, technically.
That's right. Wouldn't it be so nice? Hey, Lucasfilm, that Last Jedi thing, you want a tax write-down?
Yeah, well,
get rid of a lot of that.
A little too late for that, but yeah, I mean, we could only hope, right?
That's right.
Well, guys, here's the big question then. Willow flops and is gone. Indiana Jones, one of the biggest live-action flops in the history of Disney. What value does Lucasfilm bring? I know we're going to say Star Wars, but it's such a decline to the point where you talked about apathy earlier a minute ago, Pro. The apathy has reached critical mass with Star Wars. I mean, you can't get fans to give a shit about anything. Ahsoka, Andor, this, that. And these things cost more and more money. I mean, we looked into the budgets of some of these Star Wars shows. It was reported to like $25 million an episode for Andor. And Obi-Wan cost $90 million for a season. The Book of Boba Fett costs somewhere in that range. These shows are astronomically pricey. And I mean, Disney, yes, they've made money from their $4 billion investment 9 or 8 years ago. Mm-hmm. But you don't buy these things to make money for just under a decade and then go, it doesn't matter anymore. You expect these things to make a profit forever. What else is there for them?
So let me answer that in 3 letters, and then Script, I want you to give the full, but 3 letters for me. ILM. Script?
Well, actually, yeah, part of that is the fact that one of the reasons some of those Disney Plus shows are so expensive is that a bunch of that budget is most likely going towards paying for the Stagecraft Studios that they've been building ever since their announcement. Like, those are very expensive, and they're trying to amortize those, and they're also leasing and renting them out to other production companies in order to pay it off, so that they can build more, which then ups their expenses. But they're trying to change the game. They're trying to make the new volume. Essentially the chroma key green screen or blue screen systems, which were way cheaper to make because all you needed is a flat color and paint on a wall and you're done. Now they're making an interactive background that can be shot in camera. And I think that's one of the things that's allowing for this budget to be so inflated is the construction and the technology for it is very, very expensive. And the other part too is we don't know how long these stagecrafts can work actively before they run down and have to have parts of them replaced. So that could be a whole nother expense that is looming in the near future for what they're doing here. And with regards to ILM, it's such a valuable asset of the Lucasfilm purchase that because they're able to basically rent their services out to all these other productions, it's always going to have a constant flow. I mean, ILM is the industry standard when it comes to special effects, with Weta being basically standing shoulder to shoulder with them at this point now. It's something that they don't want to give up and lose, but they are willing to downsize it because I did learn from a friend who is moving from Singapore to Vancouver this morning because the Singapore office is apparently being shut down.
I saw that in the press. I was actually going to ask you guys, had you seen that? Because it was sent to me by a listener, and I was like, oh, okay. More bad news for Lucasfilm and Disney.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I mean, it's just par for the course right now. I'm equating it to basically the universe saying, Disney, you're not supposed to be this big, so we're going to do all this stuff to you so that you go back to what you were best at at your peak. 20 odd years ago, if not more.
Now,
balloons?
No, the ice cream bars. Those were the best.
There you go. That's what they need to get back to.
Now, I want to ask you guys a question because Script had me on a video, WDW Pro had me on a video maybe a week and a half ago, just a week ago, and I had brought up the point that entertainment was best in the 80s when we had a weak Disney and everything else was open creatively. How do you guys feel about that?
I've never heard anybody make that point. You were the very first, and it was fascinating.
How do you feel about that, Andrew and Script? That because we all can talk about what decade was best, but overall, people agree the 1980s was just this wonderful time for creativity, original films, ideas that still stand the test of time. But Disney wasn't really putting out anything of value, maybe until the late 80s with The Little Mermaid, the Disney Renaissance, and maybe Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. How do you guys feel about my statement that a weak Disney is a better entertainment landscape for everyone else?
Well, because Hollywood always follows the leader, and the leader is whoever makes the most money. And in the 80s, I think it was Warner Brothers and Universal and United Artists that were doing some really, and Paramount to degrees, that were really just at each other's friendly throats, so to speak, in competition wise. And that's just because those studios were designed to take a lot of risks. And Disney transformed from being an animation and film studio into essentially a tourist trap that made movies to advertise their tourist traps. And one thing that they did, which made those tourist traps so appealing, is that they called it the Magical Kingdom. They made it as best of an experience possible to the people that went there, so that you felt like you were getting more than your dollar value. And they focused on that a lot more. They did do a couple of experiments in the 80s. They experimented with Tron, which did pretty well. They experimented with the black hole. In science fiction, they were still kind of trying to, be a voice in the studio world. But you're not wrong. Like, Disney is best as kind of like a niche market, and I'm not saying niche as in small. I mean niche as in specific. Like, this is our target audience: little kids, girls, general family conduct, friendly conduct and content. And that's where they were able to maintain a pretty solid income when it came to their parks, their television shows, and their films. The moment that changed is at the turn of the century, when Bob Iger, the meteorologist turned studio head, wanted to be at the table with all the other studios. And in order to do that, there's two ways. You either build up what you have to make it, elevate your studio, or you buy someone else that did the work and coast on that until it no longer is viable, and then you buy someone else. And we saw they did that 3 times over the last 10 years. They bought Marvel, then they bought Disney, then they bought Lucasfilm, and then they bought Fox. And it essentially got them a nice 10-year model, but it hasn't pursued anywhere since after that. And that's because they broke the cardinal rule of creativity, which is you got to take risks, you got to build up your own IPs in order to give them value. You just can't buy essentially someone else's work and pass it off as your own.
That's what it feels like. That's been that model for too long now.
Yeah, I think the issue is the over-centralization of entertainment right now. You see most of the big IPs are all concentrated within just a couple of studios. And I think that falls under what both you, Jeff, and Script were saying, in that it results in kind of a suffocation of creativity, because then everything starts coming from the top down, from just this one same top of their vision, how they want things to proceed. Only the projects that those people up at the top want are going to get greenlit, things like that. And everything just becomes one note. And you get a lack of creativity. You don't see new products. You don't see new characters. You don't see new stories being told. You see rehashes of stuff. And anybody that's surprised by what we're seeing in Disney now should not be surprised, because Disney has been rehashing other people's stories for decades. They didn't invent the Little Mermaid. Yeah, they didn't invent the Little Mermaid. They didn't invent Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. They didn't invent the Lion King. They didn't invent any of this stuff. They literally just retold somebody else's story.
Yeah, I mean, they did it beautifully in those early days. I mean, but the thing is that, that's what they did. In fact, all studios kind of did that. They started with, okay, what do people know as stories? Let's make those into movies. You got The Legend of Zorro, which is based off of an older tale, a short novel, and that I think 20th Century Fox did, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe another studio. It's over 100-year-old film, so I apologize for not being completely accurate on that. But then you also have Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. You have The Mummy. There's a lot of stuff that was existing IP that was being used to sort of build up Hollywood. And then as they kind of created a nice foundation, they started putting in a little bit of original stuff. We then got into the pulp sci-fi, the pulp horror. We got adaptations of Dashiell Hammett and Raymond Chandler stories that came in. And then we started getting a little bit more into the original stuff, where the auteurs entered. And we were getting a little bit more distance away from IPs. But IPs have always been a foundation with regards to the studio system. What we have now is really just a consolidation of those IPs, and then also a focusing on only the big ones, as opposed to finding all the smaller little ones that were out there and turning them into something big. I mean, it wasn't First Blood also based off of a short story before Sylvester Stallone got involved, and they turned it into the movie franchise of John Rambo, if I'm not mistaken.
I know Die Hard is for sure. Based on
I definitely know Die Hard is. Yep. And heck, even Cobra. Cobra was as an adaptation of another book, but I think they completely went in an original direction of that. Speaking of another Sly Stallone film. But
I think Cobra was originally what Stallone pitched for Beverly Hills Cop, but Paramount had to ditch it because it was too pricey.
Yes, and then what ended up being Cobra was still kind of a cheap looking movie, but a fun movie.
Yeah. Hey, I enjoy it. Not as much as Beverly Hills Cop.
I've never cut pizza with a pair of scissors before, but I was going to after I saw Cobra do it.
I think I'll do it next time I have a pizza.
That's the takeaway. Okay.
He's right. I mean, I thought it was the silliest thing, but I'm like, you know what? That's funny.
Well, Script, let me ask you a question,
Sure.
because I've been thinking about this. With the Disney situation, it kind of looks to me like that Iger's success comes from, and I'm talking about his success from 15 years ago, kind of looks to me like he acquired these highly successful businesses, brought them in, and then the highly successful people in those businesses created content that, once again, was highly successful. And then the Disney machine made that even more lucrative. But then, eventually, this kind of feels like the Activision Blizzard situation, where Activision creeps in and takes away the Blizzard magic. It feels to me like the Disney mechanisms, whatever they are, they came in and they stripped out, first of all, the magic from these studios that they had acquired for so much money. And then they pushed the people out. I'm thinking of like a John Lasseter, for example. Or I'm thinking about, even George Lucas. He wanted to be a part of the process. He didn't want to be the man in charge. He still wanted to be there, but these people get completely pushed out by Iger's philosophies. And so I think there's like this false positive of Iger's successes, in that he got to ride the coattails of these very successful businesses he acquired, but then his methods destroyed them. Do you think that's at least partly true?
Well, actually, have you seen Bob Iger's masterclass on being a business owner?
Tell us
and
about
running
it.
Disney? Okay, I've only managed to see a little bit of it because I didn't want to pay the full amount, because I didn't want to give Disney any more money. But basically, when he came into Disney, he understood that he's essentially marketing princesses to girls. Like that's his philosophy when it comes to Disney. And the other part too, when it comes to Disney, and this is what I learned very early on when I got into Hollywood, is that Disney loves to avoid conflict. They don't want to ever be controversial with their brands. And guess what's one thing that a lot of these franchises have? They have a lot of conflict. They like to push the edge in some of them things creatively. I mean, even George Lucas, even though he did the prequel trilogies essentially independent, he had a woman die after childbirth. Like, Disney doesn't like to do, modern Disney does not like to do stuff like that anymore. Even though early Disney definitely did. I mean, the opening of Bambi alone basically says, hey, let's go a little dark here, but then let's make a nice, happy, story of persevering in the face of that conflict. Disney hasn't wanted to do that since Bob Iger took over. And I think that's one of the big issues, because again, Marvel, when they introduced Iron Man, they made him a very flawed character. He would sleep around with news reporters that challenged him. He was selling weapons and making a huge profit off it, and trying to justify his philanthropy to allow him to sleep at night. And then he had to go through this realization that it's not enough that he's making weapons that he wants to defend, the people that he cares about, his soldiers, his country, and whatnot. It's the fact that the evil corporation, an evil entity, has infiltrated his corporation, his family's corporation, and is now double dealing, and that's against his own moral code. And he now has paid the price of it, and now he's like, I have to fix this, not just for myself, but for the family legacy. And that was cool, but that's also kind of risky. And when they were going the next step of that, which is that, what's the next flaw to explore with Tony Stark? Well, it's going to be alcoholism. And Disney says, well, we're not big on, having someone, having our characters deal with alcoholism. It doesn't matter that they become sober at the end. We just don't think that's a good message to be associated with the Magic Kingdom. And then you go into Star Wars. Like, Star Wars has a lot of controversial aspects. You've got the main character of Darth Vader, who is essentially a tyrant, an executor, a dictator who's done horrible things, most of which we don't see, but a lot can be inferred.
Genocidal child murderer. I mean, the guy's nuts.
Exactly. And you think Disney is going to want to do a story that dark? Like, what's the most evilest thing that Kylo Ren did in those 3 films?
Through a temper tantrum.
He got really angry sometimes.
Exactly. That's it.
He beat up some computers.
He had some
microaggressions.
He was really upset there.
Did he ever?
I was thinking about your point. I don't want to jump over you, but let me just, because I want to congratulate you, because I was thinking about this. Your point is fantastic. Going through the Disney animated movies, the last one that I can come up with that had an actual tragedy in it, a real tragedy, right? Not a little fake cartoony kidsy kind of thing, but a real tragedy was Lion King, when Mufasa dies. That's before Iger in terms of its development. You're exactly spot on. And when that stopped.
You know what the closest part to a type of dire tragedy occurs towards the ending of Toy Story 3, when all the toys are about to be thrown in the trash incinerator, so to speak.
Right.
That was the closest they got into a tragedy or trying to persevere through some sort of external conflict they'd ever seen. And it's like, oh wow, it's been a long time since I've seen something like this in a Disney film. And Toy Story 3 came out in 2011. 11, yeah. And I had only started actually seeing Disney films in college in 2003 and 2004. The only way I was like, yeah, it's been a while since I guess Disney's actually done this. They actually pushed the limit. And Disney is a risk-averse. Disney has grown so big that it has become a risk-averse corporation right now. And I've been doing this slow little research over the last few months, going through the catalog of films from other studios to see how many of them put out quote unquote safe and also at the same time, woke or woke agenda-ish content in comparison to Disney. And Disney is the one that does it almost guaranteed every time. Sony did, you can name one very woke Sony film, which is Ghostbusters 2016. And I don't think they've done another one since at that level or any level comparable to what Disney has pushed. Same thing with Paramount, same thing with Warner Brothers. Amazon Studios is kind of a mixed bag because they've got their Rings of Power and their Wheel of Time, but they also have their Terminal List and they got Jack Reacher. So, they're kind of bouncing back and forth. Apple Plus TV, I can't think of anything there. I can only think of just bad stuff and then really, really good stuff. It's like Disney's driving the narrative of that wokeism, but the rest of Hollywood is kind of backing off on it, especially with regards to the frequency of things in comparison. And I think that's why a lot of people, and rightly so, feel that the entire industry is just preaching a woke agenda. It's really just one voice being very, very loud and putting out so much to the point where you feel, it feels like all of Hollywood's doing this. Now we see it peppered throughout a lot of TV shows for sure, but that's just because a lot of those TV shows are also kind of, if not in one way, they're kind of chasing the coattails of the biggest studio in town because they want those contracts and they want those distribution deals with them. And that's just the nature of the game. And so long as Disney is going to keep doing that and keep having the value that they have, although thankfully finally the market is kind of caught up and said, no, Disney, you're not doing what the market wants, so your stock is going to drop, your losses are going to increase, and if you don't correct the course soon, you will be terminal.
By the way, we're taking a little bit of criticism in the chat because when we were listing out the things that Kylo Ren had done, we failed to mention apparently that he had killed his father. But folks, I'm here to tell you that in the eyes of Disney, that's not at all what happened. You see, Kylo struck down the patriarchy. That's what happened. Oh my gosh.
But okay, so we got the one thing. That's cool. One thing,
that
and
was
that's a perfectly
okay?
valid one. That's a perfectly valid one. Absolutely. He kills Han Solo in one stroke. But does he kill any of his men like Vader killed in Empire?
No, he destroys the thing and the stormtroopers run off.
I remember when that happened, and I remember how many idiots in Hollywood thought that was a brilliant scene because he's like, yeah, we don't know what this guy's going to do. He just took it out on a machine. It's like, dude, that's a child's temper tantrum. Darth Vader, when he killed the freaking admiral for entering in too close to a rebel base, that is more like crap. He just killed a guy of high rank right in front of everybody, and he didn't even care, and nobody did anything to defend that admiral. That is a guy I'm terrified of. I'm not terrified of a kid that's making a temper tantrum. I don't care if they have a lightsaber or not. You're a kid taking it out on a machine. The moment you drop that saber, I'm bitch slapping you and teaching and throwing you over my knee and spanking you for acting so immature because, you're not threatening with a temper tantrum. A temper tantrum is not something of threat. A person that can control themselves and strikes with precision, that is someone to watch out for.
Great point. Yes.
Now, folks, we have Pro for a few more minutes, about 2 or 3 more minutes before he's got to head out to do something big and breaking. I can't really give out his information because you got to check out his channel for that. But I guess I just want to ask you, what do we think's going to happen moving forward with the rest of their Disney's big properties? Is this it for them this year in terms of like Guardians is going to be their one big hit? They've had Little Mermaid barely break even. Elemental was the one you brought up earlier, Pro. That is Pro.
Little Mermaid needed.
Script, sorry.
Little Mermaid needed $800 million to break even, so I don't think it's going to do that.
Oh no, I didn't realize it was that high. I've just seen people try to put out articles like, "Hey guys, it's going to be a huge hit because it's now made $500 million."
No, it had a $250 million production budget. It had a $150 million marketing budget. That's $400 million. Disney gets roughly half back from the box office, so 800 would get them to break even on that one. In terms of in terms of what they've got left, well, they've got the Marvels. That's something, eh? And they've got Wish, and that's about it. So yeah, I think Guardians is their winner of the year. It made some money, not great, but it made some money, and you know, kudos to them for that. They had the win with Avatar: The Way of Water last year. Of course, that was mostly a James Cameron effort, or totally a James Cameron effort. So, and you have to give them credit too on Elemental. It looked like it was going to be a disaster based on its opening. It's legged out. It will now lose probably 70 million-ish, but it was on track to lose 200 million-ish. So it went from disaster to dud, and they will take dud any day. We're in
at this point, beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah, we're in a funny place where Indiana Jones: The Dial of Destiny is so bad that it makes John Carter look good.
Whew.
Oh,
And they should not have ever pulled the wind out of the sails for John Carter, but they did that so that they could secure Star Wars.
Yes, exactly. Script, well said. Me and Script are on. We're in simpatico.
Oh, dude, evening. We're always in simpatico, man.
That's right. The rhythm is here. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for having me on. Folks, if you're wondering what it is I'm about to be up to, we've had some news that's been breaking today, and I'm getting ready to record a video with Jonas J. Campbell. We're going to be releasing it in the morning that when you add it all up, Lucasfilm has lost something approximating $500 million this year. And so we're gonna break down those stats and bring that out. And then I guess I'll also be covering this lawsuit against Disney. And so it's going to be a fun time on the channel. Come check me out, and I'll definitely be watching World Class BSers as well as everything that Andrew and Script are putting out there.
Well, thank you for joining us.
We love having
this
you,
evening.
Pro.
It's a pleasure as always and a joy. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a great show. I will be listening in.
Take care,
Thank
Pro.
you.
Take care, sir.
So let's keep the energy high, guys. We've been talking about all the doom and gloom and all that stuff. Real quick, Script, if you wouldn't mind enlightening me. What happened again with John Carter about Star Wars? Because I went and saw John Carter, and I never finished it because the fire alarm got pulled, and I never saw the end of the movie. And so I really don't know what's up. But what happened, do you mean, with they pulled the wind out of the sails? They just pulled it from theaters early, or what's up?
No. Well, I mean, Disney didn't market it well. There's that. It's Edgar Rice Burroughs' story, if I'm not mistaken. And Disney was trying to do their own. They were in this kind of period where they're trying to build up their studio. So Bob Iger definitely wanted Disney to be a major player studio in the studio system. Prior to Disney being Disney, the big five studios at the time were essentially Sony, Warner Brothers, MGM, Paramount, and Universal. Disney was not among them. And Disney wanted to be among them. He wanted to change it either to being Disney part of the big five or make Disney the big six. And so he started with a couple of franchises. The first one they were trying to do, they were doing really well with Pirates of the Caribbean. They thought that was going to elevate them. It almost did. Their next step was basically saying, okay, well, since Pirates of the Caribbean is on the rise and people are really loving that, let's do Tomorrow World. Let's do Tron. Let's bring Tron back, and let's go into science fiction a bit more, or a bit more fantasy, and let's do John Carter of Mars. And people were actually kind of really buzzing about this because people thought, oh, wow, Disney is actually going to take some big risks again. They're not going to just focus on animation and family stuff. They're going to broaden out to a bit more other genres. And with John Carter of Mars, it used to be called John Carter of Mars, and then they changed the title to John Carter, which means nothing to a lot of people because it's a general name. It doesn't say anything. and they kind of messed around a little bit with the directors and the screenwriters' interpretation of what they wanted to do. They didn't market it well, and they essentially kind of killed it in ways which I don't have all the details on, but there's a number of YouTube channels out there that have covered it. If you go back to, I think 2014 is when some of them started to talk about it, so you have to go into your YouTube history there. But they essentially kind of killed it because as they're in the midst of, I think, closing out in production, entering in pre-production, post-production, Iger got wind that George Lucas was interested in selling Lucasfilm and Star Wars. And instead of spending all this money trying over several years to make John Carter a big fantasy wing of Disney, Bob Iger got the idea that it would be a lot easier just to buy Star Wars and just use that existing brand IP that people already know that deals with a little bit of sci-fi and a lot of fantasy, and make it a Disney brand thing. And because George Lucas has had in the past a very positive relationship with Disney and the Family Channel, because they were the ones that helped him with the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles and a couple of other projects, Lucas felt, yes, because Star Wars is essentially a series of stories about family, and Disney is a very family-oriented company, they would take good care of this franchise. And I mean, that's a fair argument. The other part too, and this is rumor on, or speculation, sorry, not rumor, but speculation on my part, is that it goes down to Rick McCallum and his sudden departure from Lucasfilm prior to the sale, which makes no sense. Nobody understood why that happened. And the fact that it wasn't even really covered in the trades, considering the fact that you have essentially the biggest producer in Hollywood at that time, Rick McCallum, who helped make the prequel trilogy, which, it definitely divided some Star Wars fans, but it made a lot of waves in Hollywood. It revolutionized digital effects and digital integration into film. He was the big guy, and the fact that he left in October and Kathleen Kennedy was named president following was really, really weird. Like, nobody saw this coming. And shortly after she was kind of named president, that's when Disney came in and purchased Lucasfilm. And it's like, well, those all weird movements of the chess pieces, so to speak. And I suspect that what ended up happening is that George Lucas was kind of being probed to sell Lucasfilm, even though he probably wasn't thinking about it at the time, most likely by some of his friends, one of which was probably Kathleen Kennedy. And I think because Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger had a long-term friendship, that when Bob Iger realized that, hey, it's going to be costing us more time and money to build up some of our IPs that we already have than just grabbing something that's already kind of currently in the lexicon, we should probably buy Lucasfilm. And I think Kathleen Kennedy and some of her people and friends nudged George to sell, and then Bob Iger was able to come in and solidify that sale. And in exchange, Kathleen Kennedy was able to retain her position as president of Lucasfilm. And it's probably why, despite the mistakes that have been made under her leadership, she has not been ousted when any other president who pulled such blunders would have immediately been departed as a result. And I think it might have to go to an earlier deal that happened between maybe Kathy and Bob, where she says, I get president and I leave when I want to. And that kind of fits, not just with the fact that Kathleen Kennedy has probably also built hundreds, if not maybe 1,000 careers in Hollywood since the 1980s, but also why she's been able to get all these passes with all the mistakes that have been made publicly with the franchise.
Well, thanks for giving me the information, because I remember that beginning of the 2010s era for Disney where I'm like mildly interested in what they were putting out. I like Tron Legacy.
Me too.
I know a lot of people think
I
it's
thought the
this
movie
crappy
was cool.
movie.
Yeah.
Dude, I thought it was a cool movie. I thought it looked good, and I thought it had one of the best soundtracks of the modern era. That Daft Punk score was awesome. I bought that shit.
Pretty good. However, I will say that in the succeeding years after that movie, it seemed like Daft Punk and that type of music was just everywhere. Like, I couldn't get away from it, especially working at GameStop. Every freaking trailer, every commercial, everything had Daft Punk type music. And I was like, okay, guys, there's such a thing as oversaturation. But you are correct. The soundtrack to that movie was baller.
Then they won a Grammy with that song with Pharrell. They got, like, I liked Daft Punk when they first, I guess, came out. Was it 99, 2001, something like that? Mm-hmm. And I always thought they were kind of cool. But that Tron Legacy stuff, I enjoy when you can take regular traditional music that's scored, make it kind of modern. Because I love the Beverly Hills Cop soundtrack. I think that's one of the best ones out there. But I like when you can take something traditional and modernize it. That's what I really want out of, like, when you bring an old property back, or when you do something like that. An art, it's great to see a classic style make a comeback with, like, for example, in comic books. Oh, this classic artist comes back, and then they do modern colors over the line art. It looks pretty cool. I'm a fan of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like that was the musical equivalent of that. But the only thing I think negatively about that movie is the CGI face of Jeff Bridges. Like, I still don't think we're there where we can mimic these faces one to one. Like, Indiana Jones may have cost, so much money that you could buy a small country, but like Harrison Ford didn't look that real when he was CGI'd to look young. There was just something weird about it.
And in some of the wide shots with the stunt performer, you could tell that the digital masking wasn't properly synced on
That's
on him. Like, when he would look down, something was off, and if you got a profile shot, something looked off. And they spent a lot of money to try and hide that, but when you see it on such a big screen, you're like, wow, that is something's. You as a human being recognize there's something wrong with that. Mm-hmm. And in a perfect world where say River Phoenix didn't pass away, he probably would have been the young Indiana Jones in a follow-up film, because Harrison actually really liked that kid. and I think that would probably be the only actor he would say, yes, he could play Indiana Jones so long as I've already passed away.
I mean, hell, was it the Mosquito Coast where they built their connection? I've never seen the movie, but I'm pretty sure he plays his son in that one. So, have you seen the pictures of the masks they used for the stunt doubles for the Indiana Jones movie? How creepy they are.
I've seen a couple of variations of masks. I've seen this one that looks kind of like saran wrap with a bunch of dots all over it. I've seen another one that looks kind of like a mold of Harrison's face that's thrown over people's faces. Are there any other ones that are out there? Because those are the ones I can remember.
I saw not a meme, but a picture that had like 4 of them all in it. If I find it, I'll send it your way via Twitter. But it was so unsettling to see how realistic they can get it. It's almost like maybe they should have just used that and CGI'd the eyes or something and fixed it that way.
Well, I mean, one of the biggest challenge when it comes to like digital de-aging and also deep faking is the mouth. The mouth is what gives it away. The mimicking how each individual has a certain way of how they speak and how their lips move to pronounce words. There's not a universal way to it. And an AI can't figure that out. And so it kind of makes it turning those lips into what you see default-wise when it comes to cartoon animation. So, yeah, that's the first giveaway. We did an experiment, me and a bunch of friends of mine, because I have a relative who's in post effects, one of which, his best friend is also a friend of mine. He's been living in Singapore, and he's now moving to Vancouver because ILM is closing out their Singapore stuff. So that's how I learned about that this morning. But those guys were actually playing around with it. They ended up recording a dozen different actors saying the exact same line and they filmed their lips, and they did a layering of all of them, and none of their lips move in the same way. Although the sound comes out, the words are the same. The way that they how wide their lips go, how narrow they are, where their tongue comes out, and the teeth movement, all that type of stuff is so different and unique to all of them that they were saying it's probably going to be impossible for an AI to do that generally on another actor. So let's say you've got Harrison Ford is going to speak into a booth to record lines, and then an actor on screen is going to lip sync to that. And then the AI is going to use Harrison Ford's face mask over that. It's going to capture the face, but not the lips properly. And as a result, there's going to see something that appears out of sync, even though they open and close when they should. There's something off about that. And I think the reason the human eye can pick that up is because we've already seen Harrison Ford speak, and we may subconsciously connect to, we know how his lips move and how they work and whatnot. And we do that with everybody that we meet. And so when you see something where it's someone else's lips on another person's face, or it's an AI trying to recreate that movement, we recognize it as false. And therefore we're not sold into the idea that this is actually the young version of that actor.
I never
thought about it that way.
Oh yeah, take a look at Jeff Bridges and Michael Douglas and their de-aging stuff for Disney for Tron and the first Ant-Man film. Watch their lips. There's something off about them. And it's because their lips are being over-animated too artificially, as opposed to them maybe probably doing just a proper cutout around them and then blending it in. And even in some cases when they do that, all the muscles around the cheeks and the nose and the upper lip and the jawline, they don't line up with that because those details can't be properly processed at this point in time.
It's going to be scary when we get to the point where it's indecipherable from. Well, is that the right way to say? Anyway, you can't tell the difference. It's going to be really creepy when you go and you're like, "Ooh, that looks just like the real thing."
Well, we recognize it as cartoons because how often in cartoons do you see a cartoon character's jaw move when they speak? It's usually just the lips they animate, and the head stays kind of still, right?
Yeah,
that's kind of what's happening now in the CGI world.
Well, I guess Disney never left the animation game. They just tried a different type of animation, and I don't like it.
There's something to that, I think. Yeah.
it is unsettling, and it plays up a lot of people's fears because they're like, one day they'll get the deep. I mean, the deep fakes actually look better than the real life, or not the real life stuff, but the deep fakes that I see on the internet tend to look better than the ones we get in these movies that cost so much money. Why do you think they just don't utilize that type of technology versus the way they do it in Hollywood? It just seems like they're spending a lot more money.
Didn't Lucasfilm actually hire on that one guy that was that did a better deep fake with Luke Skywalker and
Harrison Ford on Solo,
and Tarkin and Carrie Fisher than Disney's freaking own studio did?
Oh, yeah. Well, Chinook and others like him, they spend quite a lot of money and take a lot of time in the rendering process in order to make it look good. With Disney, just like with all big corporations, they hire out the lowest bidder that can claim they can do the job. And, that's just, essentially from their perspective, good business. It doesn't matter if the quality is not 100%. It's like, well, no, this is good enough based on the dollar amount we're paying. So, yes, we will settle for that. But a lot of people that are in the fan community, especially the ones that are very good at deep faking and other computer programming, they have a little bit of a passion and personal investment in there that they will do it right. And then if they get hired, they're going to state what their cost is, and Disney or another studio is going to be like, well, that's a little bit too much considering the output that we're getting. We don't really need it that much, so let's go a little bit less. Can we have, like, maybe instead of having 100% render, how much would it cost for a 90% render or an 85% render or something of that nature?
Right.
And that's a negotiating tactic. That's usually what's done with all type of contractors, be it Apple, be it General Electric or Westinghouse or any of those guys. They'll come up with a design and they're just like, okay, how can we do this the cheapest way possible? Doesn't matter if it breaks after a few months. The customer will like the product enough as it is. They'll rebuy it again, or they'll send it in for repair. We can spend a few bucks fixing it up, and then we still retain that sale. Who cares? But if anyone ever were to make something for top dollar with the highest quality of materials, the thing probably would never break down. In which case, the economy would be, suffering a little bit as a result of that.
I feel like I'm learning a lot on my own show tonight, Andrew. It's just like, oh, shit. All right.
Well, this is a lesson, oddly enough, I learned from the Adam West, William Dozier Batman series.
Elaborate, please.
So there is an episode where an inventor comes up with kind of like the equivalent of a perpetual motion machine and like a perfect solvent and a mechanic that won't break down. And he's a student of another inventor, and his mentor is basically saying, you can't be doing this. If you put this out there, there'll be no parts people won't be able to sell parts to fix it. People will never be able to, it'll never break down. It'll last forever. It'll go generational. No one will ever buy from us again because our company won't exist because we've sold all of our products and we'll be living off what's left of that profits unless we come up with something new. And if we come up with something new, the odds of it being able to replace the thing that we put out are difficult. It was I'm doing a terrible job paraphrasing it, but I think it was the one when they're trying to figure out who the real identity of Batman is, and they find this inventor and his student, and they make a joke like, "You think my student's Robin? He's 26 years old." And it was a really cool, fun. I think it was like an Egghead episode.
Vincent Price, right?
But and I'm pretty sure it was like second season. But gosh, I got to go back to. It's been only a year and a half since I watched those shows. But I usually watch them pretty regularly because they're brilliantly written for their time. But yeah, that's it. Like, listen, I what's really funny is that I learned a lot about just the seeds of basic economics, business, and philosophy from comic books and Star Trek, and then I take those notes and then I just actually research them from the actual authorities as opposed to just the writers who are, you know, cherry picking things to have fun with entertainment wise. But that's usually where I end up getting my start to those things, and that's actually what I miss with a lot of stories is they don't present an interesting idea about something general of how the world works to incentivize or inspire the people watching it to be like, hey, I want to learn more about why this idea was presented in this funny show or this really cool dramatic science fiction episode or what have you. I can't think of anything current in the last 10 years or so that has done that.
Well, that's why I always stress the importance of entertainment, because it inspired you to look up actual business, actual economics, actual things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's value to all of this. I know people just say, oh, it's mindless, it's stupid, it's pointless. No, it's oddly important in ways that people don't give credit. When we keep pumping out, not we personally, but when as a society we keep making dumber and dumber things, or things that just represent stupidity or glorify stupidity, it does have an adverse effect, a negative effect.
Actually, I can think of kind of one thing recent. So Parks and Recreation, the character of Ron Swanson highlights the inefficiencies of government, and how there's one episode where he meets Lucy Lawless as a character, and it's basically saying that the governments don't hire the right people to repair the things that the people need for their tax dollars. So he goes down and actually does it himself. and just fixes it. And he's like, no, I did everything right. This thing is going to be fine for a few years. You'll never get that from a government contractor, because governments don't hire contractors based on merit. They are contractors that are friends of the politicians. And that's why, you know, your roads are falling apart, or your parks aren't properly maintained, or any of the other public facilities are not in the pristine way they would be, given how much tax is taken off us. It's because it's not about who's the best for the job that's going to do the job well. It's about lining the pockets of the friends of the politicians in office.
Ron Swanson was a very interesting character to watch. I was watching Parks and Rec during the pandemic. That was my go-to show.
It's a good character.
He's a great character.
I vibe with his character.
It's like, I should start buying gold and burying it hid secretly around the world, around town, in case the world collapses.
Are you secretly a Duke Silver scripter, Andrew?
No, I can't play an instrument anymore. I used to be able to play a piano, but my piano teacher passed away. She was great because she'd be like, what songs are your favorite? And we'll teach you that so you learn your basics as opposed to the general stuff. And then when she passed away, my new piano teacher was like, you're going to learn this. It's like, I don't like this song. I don't care. You're going to learn it. It's like, well, I'm not going to do this anymore.
Quickest way to turn anyone off from learning to play an instrument: force them to play songs they don't like.
Yep.
I had a piano teacher. All I wanted to learn was how to play the Star Wars music. Not just the theme, but like all of it. And I thought, that's kind of like classical music, right? I mean, it's epic, it's cool. I was 7 or 8 years old, and that was all I wanted. And they made me play crap too, so that's what kind of killed my interest as well.
Yep, that'll do it. That'll do it real quick.
Now it's just a hobby for me, so I don't even play much. If you ever find me at a bar and there's a keyboard or a piano, and if you ask me nicely or buy me a beer, I'll play the music from Beverly Hills Cop. All of it, not just the main Axel F part.
Okay,
Name a part of the
I will
score,
take you
I'll
up
bust
on
it
that
out for you.
I will take you up on that.
Oh, dude, it'll be. Look, at the one time when we first meet in person, that's what we'll do. Is we'll just first we'll be like, "Holy shit, you're real," and secondly, then we'll go out, hit up a couple bars, or do whatever's fun. But we'll find one of those places. We'll turn it into some live stream content too.
Yeah, put it up on the channel, monetize that shit.
Hell yeah.
Super chat for a song, everybody.
There you go. Take requests.
If I was that good, I'd do that all the time. I should do one of those drawing streams that everybody likes, because I could be like, oh yeah, for X amount, I'll draw what you want, and then if X amount, you can buy the artwork. So
yeah, there you go.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, that could be fun. I won't doodle on napkins during shows anymore. I'll actually
you
draw.
just do just the line art. Even people will buy just the line art.
Yeah, it'd be fun, folks. press 1 in the chat if you'd want to watch. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna do it. Sorry, you don't have a say on this one.
I'm putting 1 in the chat anyway. I don't give a shit.
Darian217 in the chat says he's waiting. He's met me and he's waiting for his drink in person with me. We'll have it at WrestleMania, folks. WCBS will be at WrestleMania this year, or sorry, next year. We're going. Joseph Yedowich really wants it. All right, man.
Wow.
I'll do more art streams.
Okay.
Look, folks, I've been getting behind the scenes work. Got some things I can't announce yet. I'll be giving you guys more of what you want. It's the WCBS way. We're channel of the people. If we knew The Rock, he would endorse us because we're the people's channel. Yeah, I just did a rock hand gesture that you can never see.
I heard it.
Dude, I watched a lot of wrestling in the build-up to SummerSlam, okay? It was a good time. I had a great weekend. And then I got to buy my tickets for WrestleMania on Friday. So, yeah, it's better to consume what you love than to sit through what you hate.
Yes.
That's my Rose Tico line of the night, folks.
There you go. Nah, don't give her that. Don't give her that.
Look, we gave her enough shit. So I feel like I owe her at least that one. Now her potato sack wearing ass can go back to whatever we want to say about her.
Just sad. Kelly Marie Tran isn't an unattractive woman, but they managed to make her look like one.
They made her look like Ryan Johnson, actually.
They made her look as frumpy
Wait, are you
as
telling
it gets.
Hold on, Script. Is Rose Tico the Mona Lisa of Star Wars? Because it said that Mona Lisa was Da Vinci as a woman. Is that what Rose Tico is? Ryan Johnson as a woman? That could be a video I'll never make.
I would say this: grab 2 stills, 1 still of Ryan Johnson, 1 still of Rose Tico. Convert them to alpha so you have their silhouettes, and tell me if you see a difference, because I didn't.
Wow.
Yeah.
That horrible roundy haircut, that's like the roundy haircut of Ryan Johnson. The frumpiness, Ryan Johnson's a frumpy guy. I think it was egregious to what they did to Kelly Marie Tran, because I actually saw a couple of things that she was in before that, didn't recognize her as Kelly Marie Tran at that point, because again, she was a very new on the scene actor. And then when someone told me afterwards, like, oh yeah, that's the same lady that was in that little short film you saw, I'm like, no way, that lady was hot. What the heck did they do to her here? And yeah, they made her very unflattering, and I don't think that I basically the way I saw it is that Kelly Marie Tran was dressed up to the type of girl that would probably have fallen for a Ryan Johnson type.
Without him having the money.
Yeah, without him having the money. And yeah, there's a lot of like creepy aspects that I've seen. Like I've seen some directors put women that are pretty beautiful and kind of break them down a little bit so that they could get a little bit insecure, so that the director could say, oh, no, you're really beautiful, and only I can actually see your true beauty, and then try to get a relationship with them.
Well, that's some
that's not just in main
shit.
Hollywood. That is way more egregiously done in the independent sphere. I know women who were gorgeous in their 20s, kept on dating independent directors and being cast as leads in their films, and just kind of passed around, and now they're pushing 40, no family, no career, because they kept on dating the directors that would put them in movies, as opposed to going after people that just wanted them for their talent and not for their appearance. And it's it's a pretty horrible aspect of the independent film market.
That is really sad.
Oh, it is. That's why when I was like getting started, I was like, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have this one rule, which is I don't date talent. So if you're someone that's really attractive and I think you got talent, I will put you in my thing. But guess what? If you try to flirt with me, I am not going to register with it at all. And it's actually shocked a bunch of my friends, especially when I be helping out on television shows in whatever capacity. And one of the co-stars or one of the supporting cast members would like flirt with me. It just kind of like went in one ear and out the other. I didn't care. I was busy on the work. And also I had a girlfriend at the time. So it's like, yeah, listen, I'll talk and I'll flirt with you.
An important qualifier too.
It's nothing's gonna happen of this, because number one, I know talent is crazy, and number two, I always tend to be in a relationship whenever I'm on a production, and I care more about the relationship than I do about pleasing or stroking the ego of a girl that feels insecure. So
yeah,
I feel like you give little snippets of like serious life advice for people who want to make it in entertainment. So folks, not only is he a script doctor and a wonderful writer, he's going to help you navigate your way through the murky waters that is the entertainment sphere, and you can only find him here on the internet.
I will inoculate you if you want to be talent in Hollywood with things to watch out for. Number one, sex is not a currency, although so many people want it. Yeah, and that's the other part too. Like the one thing that's kind of shocking is that the casting couch does happen, but it is so rare compared to what you think it is. Like I before the pandemic, I used to write a lot of monologues for girls, women actors who wanted to do self-tape stuff to put on their reel so that they could get auditions. And the reason they came after me is they're like, you write things that don't feel one-dimensional like women. And I was like, oh, okay, because I'm not writing really for women. I'm just writing a character that has whatever they want. Like they'll say, I want to have a very emotional scene where I'm dealing with the loss of a parent. I'm like, cool, that has nothing to do with men or women. That's child and parent thing. I can write you something like that without that involved. I'll do it. They'll get an audition. They'll either get the part or they won't. Only a handful of times have I ever heard women be like, yeah, they tried to casting couch me and I just walked out. I'm like, good for you. That's what you need to do. Because number one, you're showing integrity. Number two, you're showing that you want this for the best of reasons. When you're sleeping to get a role, you are basically saying that you cannot deliver enough to bring an audience into to watch your film because you didn't get there based on your talent. You got there based on your genitals. And a good producer does not want that. They want to be able to say, yes, you're hot. Yes, I'd love to sleep with you, but I really just want to make sure you have a sort of charm and gravitas that'll let the general audience want to come in and see your film. And whether I nail you or not is inconsequential. I just need that magic to translate from where you are here through the screen to the audience. And that's usually how it works. That's how you get some of those bigger stars. And it's kind of interesting how we've had kind of a big decline of any actual real charismatic big stars in film, because perhaps maybe some of the beautiful people that we're seeing on the screens aren't actually talented. They're just attractive.
The chat says to leave Megan Fox alone. They think it's a personal attack against her.
Well, I mean, listen, Megan Fox has got around, so has Scarlett Johansson. Just throwing that out there.
Oh no, not ScarJo.
Yeah, she's been married and divorced like 3 times.
Yeah, she was married to Ryan Reynolds, right? Didn't he like leave her for
married to Ryan Reynolds? Yep. And there's a funny little story going on where we're making fun of Colin Jost because we are pretty sure that her most recent child that she has is not Colin's, which is her current husband, who's the writer at SNL. I think he's just the guy that she's settled for because he'd be a reliable babysitter.
Wow.
Yeah, that. I guess he keeps his balls in her purse at all times. I don't know. Like, I watched an SNL. I hate watching that show because it's not funny, but I watched it maybe last year, and they made some kind of joke about that, and he just kind of like, he just couldn't handle it. So,
yep.
I guess there's some truth to that, man.
I would say Scarlett Johansson is kind of like maybe this generation's Elizabeth Taylor. She's got beauty, she's got talent, but she likes to get around, so to speak. And she may end up having eight husbands by the end of her career.
Good grief! I had no idea.
I mean, hey, different strokes for different folks. It's not my style to get married 8 times or maybe even once, but good for her as long as she's. I don't even want to say happy, just as long as it helps her sleep at night, I guess is the nicest thing I can say.
Good enough.
I don't wish her ill, but I also don't wish her that well.
That's a nice happy medium.
Yeah, like, what is she going to do for me? Is she going to come on the channel and help us get like 14 million subscribers or something? No, if she does, then I'll send her a Christmas card every year. But until then, it's like, lady, I pay to watch you on the screen. Have you bought Stealing Solo? Have you bought Wokebusters? If you have, then I owe you a thank you card. But like, other than that, this is a one-way relationship, and I don't know you shit. But it is what it is. I do like, even though I'm not like into gossip and would never make content about it, I always laugh when I hear like, oh, this could be this one's kid or this. That's like, what lame ass dude sticks around getting cheated on? That's
right.
Like, that's how respect goes out the window. I don't care what sugar mama you have or what situation you've walked into. If you have that little self-respect for yourself, I will never watch your content. I'll never watch your show. I will actively go out of my way to skip you. There was a famous wrestler. His name was Chris Candido. And his girlfriend was even more famous. Her name was Sunny. And she was banging Shawn Michaels. And everybody knew it. And Chris Candido knew it too. And he never did anything. And all the wrestlers stopped having his back. They stopped caring, they stopped respecting him, and she went on and banged every other wrestler in the locker room. And yeah, it's just one of those types of stories. Now she's awaiting trial to go to jail for like 25 years because she killed somebody, allegedly, in a drunk driving accident again. And Chris Candido he's dead. So, I mean, it's not a good story to tell. But every time I hear about these tales of any story where a guy just kind of, oh, I love her, I'll deal with it. Nah, man, don't be a chump.
Don't be a chump. Learn blood type combinations. That's a good thing to know. Because if the kid has an odd blood type that doesn't quite match yours or doesn't quite match properly with yours and your wife's, there's some foul play. And again, like I made this deal with my girlfriend. It's like, listen, if we have a kid, I'm getting a blood test. Not that I don't trust you. It's just that I want to make sure that maybe the kid's not changed at birth by accident or anything of that nature too. But also because I have deeply betrayal issues because, I've spent most of my 20s and all my 30s, interacting with a lot of people in Hollywood, and I've seen a lot of betrayal, and that trust is a very, very difficult thing to earn.
Oh yeah.
And she was fine with that because she's just like, yeah, sure. Like, I'm not cheating on you. I was like, okay, cool. Then you have nothing to worry about. We're cool. She's like, yeah. Plus, if the blood tests are always really good, especially between parents and the kid afterwards, just in case, you need core blood issues or maybe there's something wrong with the kid. They can identify that quickly when they go beyond just the regular genetic markers and stuff. So, there's that stuff for you when you're dealing with families, which, it's not the most ideal situation, but again, sometimes for a father that really does love their wife and love their child, sometimes they might be able to be blind from some of the weird aspects that happen when you like wondering, hey, why does this kid? I feel that the kid is mine, but it doesn't look like me.
Why is this kid 7.5 shades darker than me, or the rest of my family?
I didn't know
or
I
my
had
wife
any...
and the rest of her family.
It's weird that I have Chinese background in my heritage.
It's like Dale on King of the Hill. Oh,
Yeah.
my grandpa's Cherokee. Of course, that's why Joseph looks the way he does.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I always think back to that movie Me, Myself, and Irene, when his wife gives birth to the 3 black kids, and then she leaves her husband, or Jim Carrey, and he still raises the kids on his own. I'm like, yeah, bro, I don't think I have to break it to you. They're just not yours. Oh, that's a tangent I never thought we'd go on here on the channel, but I don't think the audience is that upset about it. Press 1 if you're severely upset, folks.
You're welcome for the life advice, I guess.
Lou asks, did I see a super chat? Yes, Lou, I did. They're going through. We're going to be reading those in a little bit. We have a little more of a conversation to have tonight. But thank you to everyone who supports the channel. We greatly appreciate you. We see you each and every week, each and every time we stream here. And I just want to tell you thank you. It means a lot from all of us here, and it means a lot from the guys as well on the podcast. And if you want more from us, folks, well, follow us this weekend. We'll be at Horror Hound in Indianapolis, Indiana. If you could make it out, if you're in the Midwest, come hang out with us. Come meet us. Have a beer. Have a drink. We're going to a cigar bar later, so have a smoke with us as well. But
damn,
if that's not your
fancy.
style, oh, dude, we're world class, man. People are gonna finally see what the world class element of world class bullshitters is about. This is Suit Saturday, my friend. This isn't gonna be jeans and a t-shirt Saturday or a comic book t-shirt or a wrestling t-shirt. No, this is Suit Saturday, and WCBS only wears the best. So, folks, find us this weekend, decked out in suits. I got a new shirt for the convention. We're gonna be looking fly. Yeah, man. I don't play.
Impressed.
I'm even going to bust out my
Evidently
James
not.
Bond watch.
There you go.
Yeah, the Seamaster only comes out for special dates, big events, and Suit Saturday. So, folks, check it out. It's my favorite thing I own. Like, yes, I have a car. Yes, I have other things, but my Omega watch, just because James Bond has one, that's why I like it so much. Do you guys own anything that's in a movie or like something that's kind of like mildly pop culture related that you're like, wow, I'm really glad I own one of those? Like, does anyone own a DeLorean?
No, but I've got the Ocarina of Time.
There you go. Now, could you play me the Song of Storms?
Not anymore. Probably not. I haven't touched the
Absolutely
thing in
love
a
Zelda.
while. Oh, same here, dude. Same here.
Dude, I gotta say, though, not to go off on a crazy tangent, that game is not that long. Like, I played it last year.
Oh, no, you can beat it in a couple days.
Yeah! Like, the Water Temple took one sitting.
Yeah.
I was really
Oh,
embarrassed
it's
that, like, as a
way
kid, it took me
easier
forever.
now than it was as a kid. Like when you're a kid and you don't quite understand how the verticality affects all of the the changes in the water levels and all of these things that you're dealing with. And it's kind of the first time encountering a puzzle like that. Now, when you're a freaking adult, I've done these a million times. Give me something else.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what the hardest. The early 3D games were hard for me because I couldn't understand what the hell I was looking at.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's just like, oh, that's supposed to be a wall. That's supposed to be a tree. Like, I'm glad we've moved past the early 3D games, and now everything looks the same again.
Hyper
Kinda
polygonial.
realistic. Yeah. I do miss the square hands in GoldenEye, though. I mean, everything just went through the hand. It's like an action figure.
Slappers only.
Dude, I never play slappers only. I'm licensed to kill with pistols. Like, if you want to play GoldenEye with me, you can't just spray and pray. You gotta have accuracy.
Oh yeah.
You gotta know how to read the maps. You gotta know what to do.
Well, we got ourselves an expert. Doesn't shock me.
Only in GoldenEye, and Tony Hawk, and Guitar Hero, and a couple other ones. My time has gone with, or the time has come when it comes to games. Like, maybe if there's a pro wrestling tournament, I'll enter that and do pretty well, because I know how to read the frames of animation. I'm like the Rain Man of WWE games. I still got it from... I downloaded all of them over the weekend, and I played through all of them, and I still know what I'm doing, so there's my, there's my excitement for the weekend.
Right on.
Now, Script, I wanted to ask you, since we're, what week are we in with this strike, and how many weeks do you think it's going to last? And basically, I guess this is a long way of saying, will there be huge, like, impact in the fall season, like, where we're going to have, like, gaps in entertainment, people aren't going to have new stuff to watch, and the internet will have to really kind of answer the call for that kind of stuff?
Okay, so we are past the 100-day mark when it comes to the WGA. I think we're over 3 weeks for the SAG-AFTRA strike. We're already going to have a gap with regards to a lot of the stuff in the fall. However, studios have been purchasing up foreign media that's outside of the normal purview of the WGA stuff and the SAG-AFTRA stuff to sort of supplant those gaps. But I don't know how well that's going to track, because a lot of the stuff that they're purchasing, especially like the South Korean content and some of the Japanese and some of the foreign French and other European stuff, they are not translated into English, which means that a lot of those things are going to be subtitled. And one of the factoids of the United States market is that the vast majority of them don't like subtitles. So that's going to be something for the majority of audiences to contend with. They'll probably end up going to streaming services and looking at back catalog of comfort food shows. So stuff that was probably made anywhere between 20 and 40 years ago. They'll end up watching. They might start watching Cheers again. They might start watching MASH. They might start watching Seinfeld, Friends, The Office. All of those types of shows might get an uptick in what they want to watch in the fall because there's nothing new coming out. I'm sure there's going to be a sizable portion that's going to watch a lot of the Korean stuff, but I don't think it's going to be in the numbers that the studios are going to be comfortable with. Some of the good news right now is that an offer was made from the AMPTP to the WGA on Friday. The team and negotiating captains have reviewed it over the weekend. It's my understanding that they have returned to the negotiating tables this week, and so far nothing in the trades has reported anything going awry. So it looks like a deal might possibly be in the near future, at least on the WGA side of things. So this strike might end up being resolved by September, which was the target date for a lot of other producers that are not part of the AMPTP and a lot of other media moguls that are hoping that the strike would be resolved before the September fall season. If that ends up being the case, that'll be good for a mixed bag of reasons. Good for a bunch of the good writers that are out there that are trying to get work, because a bunch of the existing deals have been canceled, force majeured out. And that means more opportunities, more chance for the studios to say, okay, in light of this new deal, we're probably going to spend a little bit extra money to get the best quality we can so that audiences come back to either network and streaming and theaters. So that might be the recourse from this strike. That's what everybody is crossing their fingers and hoping for. But of course, nobody's holding their breath on that. The next part then is the actors. We don't know how long they're going to go for, depending on how what happens with the WGA's negotiations and the AMPTP's agreement on artificial intelligence and its uses will dictate whether or not that'll affect the actors as well on their side of things. So it's going to be a weird time. In either way, if the strike gets resolved, it's going to be weird because we don't know what that's going to mean for the writers exactly until the deal is published. We don't know what it's going to mean with regards to AI experimentation, which really the only studio that's kind of putting all their eggs in that basket is Disney at this point. And we have no clue what it's going to do with regards to the talent and the actors. We already talked about the creepy uncanny valley effect of deepfakes and lip movement and all that type of stuff. It's still all up in the air. So until those deals get agreed upon and ratified and put into play, the future of the industry is kind of still up in the air. And I'm really hoping that the strike doesn't go on to the end of the year. I know there are some trades trying to suggest it could, or not could, that it will. I think it could, but they're saying that it will. And the longer they delay, the further they'll have to climb back up to get to where they originally want to be, which is the dominant narrative structure of entertainment for the West, essentially. So that's the other part too. There's also contentions with the interim agreements. Variety reported that whatever agreement occurs for the guilds, the interim agreements will have to adopt to that, and they say it's going to affect the buyer's market at film festivals, which I scoff at because I can't remember in the last 15 or 16 years a legitimate buyer going to any of the film festivals. A lot of the movies that you actually see in film festivals already have a distribution deal. So it's really just kind of a showcase of stuff that's coming out in theaters in the following months. So there's no point. There's no real threat at that point. So I think anyone that got an interim deal to shoot a movie, independent film, has nothing to worry about. They're still going to be facing the same challenges that they had prior to this strike anyways. So I hope I've addressed all those.
You did. I kind of asked you, like, for the broad sake of the audience to kind of get an idea, but also to, get it for myself, because I read a lot of stuff. I spend a lot of my day reading, and I guess I have a general mistrust for the media. Not like a conspiratorial, I better put on my tinfoil hat because they're going to, poison my drinking water if I believe what the Hollywood Reporter says. But I do believe in bias to the point where if I'm reading something, I make sure I at least try to find the opposite source. I used to do that in college for articles of, like, academic nature. But now, even with my entertainment, I go, all right, it came from CNN. Let's see if there's a counterpoint somewhere else. So that's why I always ask.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a really weird time. This is this has officially been the longest WGA strike in the 21st century. It's past the 100 days from the 07 one, which happened from November to February. A lot of writers that are not part of the ideology agenda have started to come out and say that the stuff that the studios are asking is probably going to cripple the industry overall, meaning that if you want the writers that are writing crap to go away, they will go away, but they will be replaced with artificial intelligence, which means that the crap is not going to go away. And that's kind of why the WGA is fighting against this. That's a subtext of the argument. The biggest flaw that the writers have right now is the mandatory sizes for writers' rooms, which every writer I know that's worth their salt hates. They think it's the dumbest thing ever. How dare you dictate? How dare you compel employment or positions to a show that may or may not be required? If a good showrunner needs a staff of 5 writers, they'll hire 5 writers. If a good showrunner needs a staff of 2, they'll hire 2. If they need a staff of 12, they'll hire 12. If they only need 2 and you're forcing them to hire 12, what are those other 10 going to do? And you can't just not give them work, but at the same time, you can't give them busy work because they're not going to learn anything. It's a big flaw within the television aspect of writing, not in the feature film. In the feature film, you write a screenplay, you have a writing partner, what have you, that's done, you're fine. But in television, there are too many younger writers that are trying to look at TV writing like it's a 9-to-5 job, and it's
Right.
not.
It's not. It's contract work.
It's contract.
It's gig work.
Sometimes the contract can come with 9 to 5 hours, but it's not a guarantee, nor should it be a guarantee, because you
Well, that's
you
a
don't know.
negotiated thing. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
I don't understand. Here's my, and I don't mean to interrupt, but this is
Go ahead,
what's been one of the most ridiculous things that I've seen on social media, because you get all these people being like, oh, you just don't want people to get paid fairly. You don't want people to have their jobs. No. I want people that produce good work to get paid appropriately for good work. I think people that put out crap work and lose their employers or their contractors' money should, in kind, not get work. That being said, I see so many people on social media, and even in some articles, that act like these actors and writers should be getting paid a salary, as though this one thing that they're doing is literally supposed to pay them enough to get them through literally the entire fiscal year. This is gig economy. It doesn't work that way. You want to make more money? Okay, cool. Be good at your craft, market yourself well, and then, I don't know, take more jobs. If you look, if you're a superstar that people are willing to pay you a year's plus worth of salary for 1 or 2 gigs, fine. I'm a capitalist. I'm all for it. You do what you do, make your money. But the fact of the matter is, that's not how that economy works. That's not how that industry works. Gig economy means take more gigs, make more money.
Well, I mean, it's actually take as many gigs as you can, make as much as you can, because most of your job as whether it's an actor or a writer is shopping yourself around, and you don't get paid to do that. A lot of writers, even some of the best writers, can go 5 to 10 years without selling another script, and it's not for the lack of trying. It's just for the fact that, again, the strange attractor element of selling a script is you need to find someone who has the same in order to get that done. And a lot of people have been trying to game the system by finding out, well, what's the taste of the people that are currently buying right now, and how can I write to that? And it doesn't work, because when you're writing to someone else's taste, you don't have the passion, the love or the attention of detail to write something authentic to that taste. And that's why you get a lot of trite. And the other part too is that the way we also have a lot more people in the industry than the industry technically needs. I mean, we have over 20,000 union writers, which is a lot. There's lots of shows that are being put into production far more recently because of the need for constant content with streaming platform. But that doesn't necessarily mean that all 20,000 of them are going to be great. On average, with any type of industry, you're overall looking at 10% of that industry is actually going to be the ones that are keeping that industry afloat, and the 90% are kind of just suckling off on it and able to maintain themselves. But that 10% also changes from time to time, depending on who is hot in the industry, what type of network they have pushing them to meet the people, the important people at the top of the studios to get those gigs. On the other side thing with actors, you have between 150 and 170,000 actors working. But the thing is, the vast majority of those actors are not full-time actors, nor do they want to be full-time actors. They actually have other full-time jobs. They do acting as a side gig, as a thing in
do
between.
a spot or an extra, or like a side character that pops in every now and then.
No, some of them are actually like regular guest stars. There's character actors that actually have full-time jobs or independent businesses that they run, and they like to do, and they go for roles all the time in between it because they love the craft, but at the same time, it's because they are the owners of their own business. They have flexible enough hours that they can go to a set and work on a show for 2 weeks and then come back and do their normal job. I know actors that are plumbers, that are contractors, that are carpenters, that are tailors, some that are electricians. They do that stuff because they like acting, but they also like doing the other thing. One of the things that was kind of fascinating to me is that Nathan Fillion, a fellow Canadian and also an actor, he makes costumes and he makes props and things of that nature as a hobby, and sometimes he sells them too. Not always, but if he feels like he needs a couple extra bucks or what have you, he can do that. And it's other skills, and that's the other part too. Is actors have to have a variety of skills that are very useful for getting a role, And the smarter ones have other jobs. Now, then you also have the other pool of actors. You have the actors that work in the service industry. They're waiters, they're bartenders, they're sales people. A lot of that 150,000 of them do that. And only a very small select few actually work regularly enough that they can actually make a living and don't have to have a secondary income. And one of the aspects that's being fought for on the actor side of things is that the wages for the actors themselves are not competitive enough with inflation. And that, again, has to do primarily with the state politics of California, not just the federal politics of the United States. But it's something that seems to be kind of fair. Like if your business is relatively successful and the quality of the people are there, and by and large, we're actors, there's a number of them that may not be the people that you see on the talk shows all the time, but there's a number of them that are underneath those levels of celebrity that are very good at what they do and very good at their job and are very reliable, and they're often, you see them all the time, but you may not know their names. There's nothing wrong with those type of actors saying, hey, listen, we know that inflation is going up, and we know that there hasn't been any raises in our industry for a while. Even with our negotiating aspects, we're still only getting this. We think it's by and large fair that if you guys are generating X amount of percent more profit, we would like a fraction of that. And by a fraction, they're talking single digits percent increase. So a 4, 5, 6, and 6 was one of the ones that they were asking for, which is not unreasonable. They did do another one more recently where they said 11, then 5, 6, and 5. And the 11 was just to make up for the fact that the previous negotiating team for SAG-AFTRA didn't even properly negotiate a raise increase in their previous contracts. So that's on their fault. And then again, that goes back into the concept of unions and representation. You only have as much representation. They only have as good as a representation as those of what you vote for. So that's a whole nother spiel of things. But again, if this is just for minimum basic stuff, this is for the starting out part. You would never want to suggest that if you're to go to hire, say, a plumber, hypothetically, and the plumber says, listen, I'm very good at my job. You know, I'm very good at my job. I'm going to be charging you $60 an hour. And then you, as the customer, saying, you know what? I don't think you're worth $60 an hour, even though you're very good at your job. I think I should only have to pay you $10 an hour. And of course, the plumber has every right to say, okay, I'm going to go away and wait for another job. But unlike with plumbing, the jobs are not as frequent when it comes to acting. So you have to negotiate back and forth. And so your value is always going to be compromised. And then that's kind of what they're trying to mitigate. They're trying to mitigate that stuff. And it's really hard to do when it comes to talent, because again, it circulates around the concept of taste for the people that are writing the checks, taste for the audience that are buying the tickets. It's not something that can be calculated despite all the efforts of the corporate studios trying to figure it out.
Well, let's talk about the taste of the audience, because I've seen this thread and I just want to pick both of your brains about this. I feel like a lot of people want to push for AI because they don't like the politics of the extreme writers that get out there. And I think it's incredibly silly and dangerous to push for that, because who's going to control the computers? Like Tornado in the chat says.
People that are controlling the writers.
Yeah, the same people that put the bullshit out there. Do you really want a computer to write your entertainment? Because the computers, and folks, this isn't a segue, because we have a big month coming up next month in WCBS. I told you our push to 200K means a lot of big changes. As soon as we hit the 200K, you'll see a lot of those roll out, so tell your friends about us. But next month is going to be an AI-focused month here on the channel. We're going to have a series of weekly streams where we discuss multiple decades of AI in film, and it's going to be a lead-up to the new film, The Creator, because we want to try to expand the brand in different ways that no one else has done before. And so AI Month is going to be our first themed month here on the channel. But I wanted to ask you guys about this right now, because that's the question I have. People seem to be very angry at actors and writers because they've made woke entertainment, and so they think the way to eliminate woke entertainment is to have a computer do it. But go to ChatGPT and try to get it to say some shit that you want it to say. I'm sorry, I can't do that. That's offensive. I'm sorry, that's against my programming. Like, is this a dangerous path to go down just because people are angry about X, Y, and Z?
Yeah, I would say so.
I'll give it to Andrew, yeah.
I would say so, though the writer in me, not that I'm a published or accomplished one, I just enjoy writing, thinks that you're never going to have the same level of creativity, at least no time soon, that you can get from a real human being. You're never going to have that in, artificial intelligence. But to your point, Jeff, with these people wanting to, have this is, all the culture war stuff, which is important, I will say. However, if your sole argument for being in favor of things like ChatGPT, AI writing, AI generated writing rather, is to own the wokies, let me tell you, you know who they're gonna have in those positions controlling and programming the AI? Probably more of the same. So you're just gonna still get more of the same content there. The only way that stops is completely starving them of financing. Like it has to get through their skulls eventually, as thick as their skulls freaking are. You keep putting this stuff out, people are gonna continue to snub you and stick their nose up at you. Not gonna buy it, and we're seeing that more and more. I think it's ramped up quite a bit, but I think it's a bad route to go down, because I do also firmly believe in keeping creative jobs firmly in the hands of creatives. And a machine is not a creative. A machine can only go as far as its programming is. And yes, it can learn to a degree with AI. But look, I can't be the only person here that watched Terminator or The Matrix or literally any other sci-fi show that deals with artificial intelligence. Like, that just seems like a bad idea. You do want Skynet? Do we want Skynet? This is how you get Skynet.
Well, again, to your point, Andrew, it goes into the relationship like this. Screenwriters, by and large, don't pitch stuff that's woke, especially their original things. They don't really. I mean, some do, but not really. What ended up happening is that for some reason, a lot of woke stuff that was pitched, that was not the majority, got its way up to the powers that be in Hollywood, and it skewed the data. It made them think that, if all these screenwriters are pitching these original spec scripts that have strong girl boss, powerful women, or diversity, inclusion, and equity, and all that type of stuff, must be where the market is, because the screenwriters are supposed to be in touch with what audiences want and pitch that stuff in there. Little do they realize that the people that are reading the scripts, the ones that are passing them up, are straight out of those Ivy League colleges that preach, diversity, inclusion, and equity, and all that type of stuff. So they are pre-programmed to identify that in the writing and push that up there and reject anything that doesn't have it. Reject the normal stuff that normally the majority of the industry is pushing. And as a result, the powers that be think that this is what the market is. And so that's what they start incorporating into their own IPs. So if I was someone at Disney and I was like, I want to tell a story about Ahsoka Tano, and she's going to be the one that saves the Jedi, that is my story I want to tell. I'm going to find a writer that does that. I'm going to put out an assignment internally with a bunch of the writers that I know of and say, I am looking for an Ahsoka Tano show. Pitch me your best idea. And out of all those ideas, I'm only going to take the one that fits the agenda I want to push. So if a writer pitches me that one, doesn't matter how good or bad they are, that's the writer I'm going with. If Jeff were to come up and pitch an Ahsoka Tano show that didn't have any of the agenda stuff I wanted, I would reject it, in which case that writer doesn't get a job. That's how it works in Hollywood. And that's basically what it is. So now if you take out the writer and you just have the guy in Hollywood who's like, okay, I want to tell an Ahsoka Tano show and I want it to have this agenda. Well, I don't have to look for a writer to write it. I can just go to ChatGPT or some other AI, punch that in, they'll write it for me, and now it's going to be exactly what I want. You're not, and that's bad, because what you do want is you want named writers. You want established writers that can get work almost anywhere to come in, pitch their take of a good Ahsoka Tano show that might do the things they want, but not have the preachy agenda, might not have the identity politics in any sort of patronizing way, but tell a really good story and be able to say to the executive, listen, I can do what you want, but I'm going to make it do this. And the executive says, you know what, that's too subtle. I don't think audiences are going to get it. We're not going to go with you. The guy can say, well, if you don't go with me, you're not going to actually get a good product, and you have to have a negotiation, a back and forth. You need to have those conflicts in there, because you need to kind of convey to the person with the money that you're the one that's creative. You're the one in touch with the audience. You know how to tell these types of stories. You have to remind them that they don't know how to tell it. They just know how to identify the great story and buy it. And all you have to do is convince them that your story is great. When you take writers out of that and you put it into AI, all you're going to get is a bunch of derivative crap that's pushing the very agendas everybody has been accusing the writers of doing. And don't get me wrong, I accuse the writers of doing that too, because when you are hired to write something that has an agenda-driven producer, it is your job as a skilled writer to manipulate those agendas to serve the story and not manipulate the story to serve the agendas. And that's how it works. That's how it's like, oh yeah, you can have someone that says, yes, we did Frozen, and we really wanted to make a girl boss story about how she doesn't need no man or anything of that. Well, the writer said, yeah, okay, we'll have that in there, but we'll make it more about sisters, and we'll make it more about that relationship and about the parents fearing, a girl with these powers and whatnot. They kind of try to, bury it down as much as they could. I don't think they did the best job of it, but they did a better job than what we have seen on the other side of things when it comes to those types of agendas. And it hit well with little girls. It had a catchy song and it blew up, and now it's a franchise thing. It's one of the few original Disney hits that they have. But that is the mark of what a proper good writer will do, is like, okay, I see this producer is an idiot. I see that they're crazy. I see they want to change the world. Okay, what have you. It is my duty as a writer to be smarter than them and to take the ideas and things they want and drill them down into the basic elements of what they could be that approach a story, put it to a script. And when they say when they tell me like, I didn't really see the messages in there, I can go to all the pages and show them and be like, yeah, this is how it's done. Don't you see how it plays on with the dynamic? Don't you see how it makes it compelling for the argument and all that stuff? And you just kind of brainwash them instead of having them trying to brainwash the audience. That's what a good writer is supposed to do. You're not going to get that out of AI.
Nope. Well said.
I just wanted to ask because at every corner, I just see that same argument, and I get it. It feels good because you think these people are going to get theirs, but it's like, it's going to fuck you over because, like I say, and this is really just not me, this is a lot of people, but entertainment is the language that brings people together across cultural barriers. Around the world, we can all, let's just use Star Wars for an example. We all like Star Wars. It can bring a firefighter, a pizza guy, a doctor, this, that, and the other. Okay, they're all in the same conversation. They might not have anything else in common, but they got Star Wars. Oh, the guy at the train station likes Star Wars. He's from Germany. All right, he's involved. You got this little kid that likes the Clone Wars, but you know what? That's cool because the Clone Wars ain't too bad. That's just across entertainment. That's what people need to realize. It is the thing that brings people together. It's the shared experience. It's that. It's like when we get to the point where AI can produce entertainment that's individualized for each person and no one sees the same movie anymore. Fuck that future. I don't care how crass that sounds. That is the worst idea for entertainment moving forward, because what it is it takes away the shared unified experience. We're a community here on the channel. I love the chat. I love to hang out with people and talk and bond over similar interests and create new interesting conversations for them to engage in. You take that away when you introduce the technology element. And I don't care. I don't like what these actors and writers say. I don't buy into a lot of the extreme ones that you hear. I mean, my favorite creatives don't even work anymore. My favorite movies were made decades ago. The things that I hold near and dear are closer to 50 years old and 40 years old than they are brand new. I don't buy into a lot of the new stuff. But when you take out that human element, you will take out what draws you to here and brings you closer and connected to other people out there. You're not going to bond over AI-written entertainment. You might get together and laugh at how shitty it is, but after a while, you're going to move on to sports or old legacy TV shows or other things, and it's not going to produce this bright, idyllic return to the 1980s that a lot of us want. It's just going to produce crap. And so I always want to bring that up because it's like there are some channels that want to anger to get more people out there to have these thoughts, and that's fine. Think for yourself. Do what you want to do. That's what the takeaway from WCBS is. This is a think for yourself channel. But I also, like George Lucas says, actually think. Think about it. Don't just go, so-and-so on their YouTube channel said it, and I'm pissed off too because blah, blah, blah. Okay, if that's how you want to live your life, hey, no judgment. As long as you're here having a good time, that's all I'm worried about. But really think about what you're doing and really think deeper. Take out your biases, take out all your stuff, and just think about if that's what you truly want. Because once you go and flip that switch, there's no turning back. There's not going to be, well, we're going to go down this path because we were wrong. No.
There's no shutting off Skynet once it's turned on.
Yeah.
Essentially, and the other part too is Western culture recently, especially in the last 35 years, has really clung on to the easy answer to try and solve things. And right now, the easy answer is let it all burn. It's like, okay, so Hollywood is gone. Sure. All right, fine. What is YouTube going to talk about at the frequency that is equal to what Hollywood once was.
Here's
There's nothing out there.
Here's the unspoken, at least in public, secret that nobody wants to actually admit, at least in a lot of places. Unless you're a legitimate creator and you actually create your own thing, like if Hollywood did disappear tomorrow, Jeff would be fine. He's written multiple fantastic comic books. He's got more on the way. He has other projects that he's doing. He's a creative. He creates. He isn't reliant upon somebody else making something good or fucking it up in order for him to live, in order for him to support himself. That is not the case with a lot of other people. Hollywood goes away. Guess what happens?
YouTube becomes Twitch.
All of a sudden, YouTube. Yes, people are just going to, all of a sudden, people are going to become gamers overnight. And I use air quotes when I say that because they're not going to have anything to bitch about. And on the other side of things, if Hollywood got its act together, there are a lot of people, and in some cases, a lot of those same people wouldn't know what the hell to do with themselves. Because what are they going to do? Talk positively about something? I'd like to see them try.
Well, and that's also the flaw of YouTube, is that YouTube drives conflict more than it drives.
Yes, YouTube rewards that as well in its algorithm. It has been built that way for a while. It'll slap you if you don't say the right things sometimes, but it, by and large, yes, it absolutely rewards that type of content as well. So that's why I encourage people, like, don't rely strictly on that. If you are a creative, if you have a creative bone in your body, maybe take some initiative to make something.
Yeah,
be a part of the solution. Be that alternative, a legitimate one. It's not good enough to just be alternative for alternative's sake. Be a good alternative, something of quality that you can point to and other people can point to. But like, well, to hell with Disney, to hell with all of these other guys. Yeah, I'll give my money to Jeff. I'll give my money to Eric. I'll give my money to Script. I'll give my money to all these other people who are creating.
Don't take yourself out of the conversation, man. You're just working on it right now. Don't give your money to Andrew, folks. He's got some good stuff coming.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Exactly.
I'm excited.
And here's the other part too. If you want to see a great contrast with regards to how a studio influences a writer, and I brought this up on a previous stream over here. Maybe don't go watch Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, but go watch Heels. It's written by the same guy. And when you see how he writes, when he doesn't have Disney breathing down his neck, it's actually pretty decent. It's actually competitive. It's got things that are interesting in there. It's like, oh wow, this guy doesn't have a collar around, a chain around his neck. Huh. Well, then what's the problem? Is it really the writers, or maybe it's the studios that are hiring them and then compelling them to write something that doesn't fit to their actual skill set? I just posted a little comparison of Heels and Yellowstone on my Patreon this morning about how they both take the same type of idea of appealing to a Midwestern audience, but Heels is far more of an underdog story, where Yellowstone, these are top dog peoples that are just trying to protect their land and their way of life. But they have a lot of resources, they have a lot of money, they have a lot of power and influence in the community that they are, and that's good and by and large. But Heels is like, this is about a guy that's trying to, first of all, save his father's business and then build it up to be something that is very salt of the earth. And that's something that's a good type of thematic approach to storytelling that you don't get too often. And that's done by, the same writer wrote Multiverse of Madness. And take a look at some of the other writers that have written some of the garbage on Disney. Go to their IMDb, see if they worked on something else that's not affiliated with Disney. Go take a look at that show or film and form an opinion, because that's probably going to be a more honest take of what that writer's skill quality is than what's being done for Disney. And that goes back to, maybe the problem isn't always going to be the writers. Maybe it's going to be the problem is the fact that it's a big stepping stone to work for a big studio, and you kind of have to, compromise compromise your integrity a little bit in order to get the job and get the paycheck, because that might afford you a little bit of extra time to hustle for something that's more in line with your actual work. It's not the best trade-off. I wish the model didn't exist that way, but that's kind of how it is right now. because of Disney's massive influence over the studio system, which thankfully is starting to diminish. They haven't hit an artery yet, although they're getting very close. But once Disney kind of goes back into being a theme park company that happens to make film and television to advertise their parks, I think the rest of Hollywood will bounce back. Warner Brothers has kind of, even with their flop of The Flash and their inevitable flop of Aquaman, they have still dominated the box office this year with Barbie and most likely what's going to happen with Dune 2. That's going to kind of offset their bookended failures of their DC franchises right now. But it's a good sign because I would rather have Warner Brothers or Paramount or Universal at the head of the studio shaping the direction of where movies are going to go than Disney, because historically speaking, over 100 years of cinema, when those studios are in charge, risks are taken, movies are interesting and fun, and there's more of a competitive nature to them. But when Disney took over in the teens and now in the early 20s, the movies have been kind of terrible. And the good ones that do come out there, we can't see because we're oversaturated with the Disney machine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, they compete with themselves on weekends. It's like, are you going to go see Indiana Jones, Little Mermaid, or something else? Elemental, all Disney, all at the same time. It's like, we get it. Everybody thinks only the opening weekend matters, and after that a movie dies. And there's some validity to a lot of that, but you also have to realize, like, hell, some people don't get to see shit right away. Like, I'm late on seeing a couple movies. I keep hearing about Sound of Freedom. Are you going to go see it? For some reason, I don't know if this happens by you, but my theaters won't let people go see it. They keep saying it's sold out. And I've had like 3 people in my family go, I went to go see this movie, and they won't let me in. They tell me it's sold out. But I walked in anyway, and there was nobody in there. Have you guys heard these stories?
I've actually heard that same story from multiple people, and I wasn't sure how serious to take it, but now you're telling me the same thing, and wow, that's
I didn't have any
really
problem.
manipulative.
I went to see it. I met up with Paul Chatto over at Call Me Chatto. We went to see it.
I know that guy's YouTube channel.
Yeah, great guy.
Yeah,
we went to
good
see it
stuff.
together, and we did a review on his channel for it. We got in to see it, and I will say this. A lot of my friends and family have gone to see it, and some of them have tried to go back. But again, tickets were sold out, so they went to see another thing. But they've never, when they were leaving their show, they were seeing people packed theaters coming out of the Sound of Freedom theater. So, and that's just in my area where I am in Southern Ontario. So that's one thing. But I would not be surprised if it happens in other parts, because they do have the donate a ticket or buy a ticket for someone who can't do it. A lot of those might be claimed, and maybe a lot of those people just weren't able to make the show times or whatnot, because once you buy the ticket, it's reserved now. It's not like the old days when we were kids where you could just go up to the thing, buy a ticket, and sit wherever you wanted. It's all assigned seating in most theaters, as far as I know, unless you're going to a repertory theater.
I miss the old days where you don't have to have assigned seating. I mean, it's nice that I can buy a ticket, 3 hours in advance and get the best seat in the house, but I also like the crapshoot of like, oh, where am I going to sit? Some of the stuff that seems like it's stupid and archaic was a lot of fun in the process.
Yeah, but you're like the bane of most theater goers' existence, because wherever you sit, if you're behind you, they're behind you. They're not seeing a show.
No. Luckily, the Regal that I go to, they renovated it all, so there's like a weird, maybe like an 8 to 10 inch wall behind all the recliner seats. So like you can't even see the people around you. Like you can see your neighbors, but you can't see the people that close, that in front of you, because you're always like staggered, which I like. It's like they've created a more isolated movie theater going experience, which that's an odd thing to say, but I kind of like going to have this shared experience, but also not having to listen to people or see their phones. Just like we go see the movie and then I look and see what'd you think of it type of thing.
Yeah,
maybe that's just me.
Yeah, that was a thing that kind of my dad used to make jokes about that when he would take me to theaters. Like, why are all the seats back right directly in front of each other? They should be staggered so that your point of view is between the shoulders of the two people in front of you, not right in front of you all the time. Because I've always been in those situations especially when I was a kid, where we go into the middle row, the prime seats, and then an adult sits right in front of you, and it's like their shoulders and head are blocking your vision for an 8-year-old kid who's sitting in the seat, and you got to switch with your dad or your mom so you can see the screen. Now they've actually finally did it, and it only took them 80 years.
Better late than never, right?
Exactly. But I mean, I'm glad it's the thing that, you know, if in the day that I have kids that I take them to the theater, it's not a problem they're going to have to deal with.
You mean you're not going to get your kids each an an augmented reality set of goggles from Apple and watch your movies like that?
Hell no.
God,
God,
no.
what am I, crazy?
That sounds
First of all, those are
miserable.
super expensive. Second of all, when that one price for those AR goggles, I could take my kids to like 8 movies.
I don't like that I don't think that'll be the future. I don't want to buy that shit. Like, hey, if you want to have a VR headset, more power to you. I'd rather play my video games on a TV and look over at the person next to me. Like, I don't want to be in my own little world. I don't even like playing games by myself. I have more fun with people. Maybe I'm just an outgoing guy.
Like, if I had AR goggles, I'd only be using it to magnify things that I can't see. So like it's a street sign. It's like, okay, that's 20 blocks away. What street is that? And then I'd magnify it and be like, okay, that's it. I'm heading in the right direction. That's what I'd use it for. It'd be such a waste of money.
You become Machine Man, essentially. Okay.
Yes.
It'd be an incredible waste of money.
Oh, dude. Believe me, I'm going to buy all those fun toys in the future. It's like, yeah, I got a house. Now what am I going to populate it with? Toys. I got every toy I could ever want. What else is there? Pointless toys like AR glasses. I kid though.
I guarantee my Italian uncle will have a set of those AR glasses. He buys all the new flashy stuff that puts him in debt.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
If he's happy, I guess that's what matters the most.
Oh no, he's miserable all the time.
Oh, okay. Forget it.
I mean,
then.
it's really funny because when he doesn't buy the stuff, he's a really fun guy to hang around with because he married my aunt. My that's how he got my family. But every time he buys something, state of the art and super expensive, it usually ends up being crap. But he's of the mind that because it's expensive, it must be good. Like that's the family in the world that he grew up in. And I'm just like, no, man, you gotta wait a week or at least wait for reviews to come out first. Don't be the first one to get it. Maybe look for a deal. Yeah, like he bought the Zune. Like, I mean,
oh no, really?
Yeah,
he's the only one.
I actually
I have friends that bought it for a joke, but he bought it thinking it would be more competitive than the iPod. Although he did buy the iPod at the same time.
I liked the Zune more than the iPod. I actually preferred its interface. I preferred its store. I also had an iPod, but yeah, I still have my Zune.
My buddy swore by it in college, and I was just like, all right, man, that's cool. I will just use my cell phone because I bought like, you remember the Nokia that's in the Dark Knight that he uses as the sonar device in China?
Yeah.
Yep.
I bought that phone, and I didn't realize it was the Batman phone. Like, I wasn't such a nerd for Batman that I'm like, I gotta get the phone. It was like Black Friday, free phone upgrade. Okay, I'll take this new Nokia. And that thing had like a million features in it. I use that thing as a all-in-one device, and now I just use my phone like everybody else. The iPod is cool. I had one once, broke in my pocket. I've never bought another one. So,
Oh, those glass screens broke the second you looked at them wrong.
they did. They were like, dude, stop scrolling through 80s playlists and pick something to listen to. That is my guilty pleasure, 80s music.
I mean, you know what? It's funny that you say 80s playlist, but one of the things that's kind of interesting to parallel with regards to entertainment for movies is that music has been pretty lousy 10 years prior. The hits are few and far between.
I agree. I feel like an old man. I thought like it was just me. You've seen an episode of South Park where Stan listens to music and everything sounds like shit?
Yeah.
I thought I hit my taste freeze wall, and I went, all right, Jeff, it's just you. Music's not that bad. There are big hits. People like all this shit. Okay, so I just kind of backed out and listened to my own stuff that I enjoy. And no, I'm not listening to like bluegrass and folk. Actually, I hate that kind of music. But my point is, I kind of took a step back. But it's just refreshing to hear other people say that, because I think Old Town Road was a crossover hit a couple years ago that everybody seemed to know about. But what are the big songs anymore? Like, I'm trying to think.
I can't name anything new or current. I mean, I've always been going back. Like, I'll listen. Like, I grew up in Canada. We had a station called Oldies 1150, and that was basically just music from the 60s and 70s. But they were playing it in the late 80s, early 90s. So there's only really like 15 to 20 year difference. But I would always go back into older songs, like even stuff from like the 30s and 40s, just to see what the tastes were like. And some things were really cool. Some things were kind of cheesy, not to my liking, but they were authentic. They were real. I mean, I loved some of the improv jazz songs from the 30s, 40s that no lyrics, just these guys playing, instruments.
Yeah.
And I dug that type of stuff. And I look for stuff out there now. Like, I'll listen to the radio and it's like, okay, it's a lot of pop. There's not really much. There's a lot of covers and remixes. and then there's rap that's being bleeped out because again radio censorship
Edits.
and edits. And I'm thinking there doesn't feel like there's anything authentic going on with music anymore, and I blame Kanye because he's one of the guys that kind of changed the game. And then on top of that, I'll go to YouTube and I'll try and look for like new songs and stuff, and look for bands, people that are actual bands, like people that play their own instruments, that write their own lyrics, that aren't overproduced, that are just trying to be raw. And some stuff is kind of good, but not too memorable, and some stuff is really bad, but that's par for the course with any band trying to figure out their voice and figure out their gimmick and their brand. But it's just so infrequent right now. Like top 40 isn't really top 40. It's just, okay, these are this is what the studios that are producing these songs are saying is going to be popular for this period of time. It doesn't feel like it's really the audience informing the direction of the music. It feels like the music's informing the direction of the audience.
I couldn't begin to tell you what the top songs are in the last few years, even. Like, I don't listen to radio.
Yeah, I pay for YouTube Music, and I listen to like weird mashups, and it's like, hey, there's a synth pop version of Beat It. It's not Michael Jackson, but it sounds pretty cool. I'll play that, sure, no problem. Or my constant playlist of wrestling music when I'm at the gym or something. Like, it is what it is. But like Taylor Swift came to town. She's like the last person that I recognize her music because it's just everywhere. Like she was a big deal.
She was just coming up when I was in early high school. I mean,
I wish I had her
still
dad
playing
buy
that
me a
little
label
country
and sign
me. My friend in college had a huge crush on her, and I'm just like, that's cool, man. Maybe you could be one of her many boyfriends that she'll write a song about in the future.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe she'll write a song about you someday.
She's a train wreck that she can't hold on to a guy, or she picks bad suitors. That's on her.
I fail to believe that Jake Gyllenhaal's a bad suitor. I mean, look at that guy. He's crazy. I don't really have an opinion on Jake Gyllenhaal. He's fine. But, yeah, just modern day music isn't really for me. I mean, this weekend I went out on Saturday, and in my car I just had like this old school playlist, and I was having a great time. I'm like, man, I haven't heard this song in forever. Or, you know, trying to figure out all the words to The End of the World by REM. It's like, or hell, I went and saw Candlebox a couple weeks ago. They were established in what, 91? 90? No, sorry, this is their 30th anniversary, so 93. Like, I'm finding shit from like when I was a child, and it's cool. It's all new to me.
Oh man, so, I stumbled onto a tour of Loverboy before the pandemic.
How's that?
They were fantastic. Like it. I mean, yeah, they're older looking, but their vocals were bang on, and their interaction with the audience was great. My girlfriend at the time loved it. Like, we just stumbled on it. We had no idea they were playing in the city, and we got tickets for like the open amphitheater. So there's no real seating, so you just go wherever you wanted. And they're really like affordable. I think it was like $50 for both of us. And yeah, it was a blast. It was like an hour and a half show. They did all their hits. They got the audience involved, and they even did a couple of improvisations, riffs and stuff in between their songs to show that they still had creative talent. It was amazing. It's like, oh wow, where are bands like this these days? I mean, these guys are in their 50s, and you know, they're talking about like, you know, they're going to their classics of "Work It for the Weekend" or oh god, why am I spacing right now on some of their other songs? But it's like "Gotta Have It" and loving every minute of it, and all those types of things. It was great. You don't get fun songs like that anymore, especially with innuendo in them, like good innuendo, not WAP.
That's not innuendo. That's just in your face.
Ooh, that's exactly what I was gonna say. You beat me to the fucking punch. Oh, yeah. It's like when I meet people, they're like, "Yeah, all I listen to is modern rap." I'm like, "All right, please don't drive anywhere with me."
God, dear God. No, the only quote unquote modern rapper I'll listen to is like Logic, because he's got a flow like more of the old school guys. That's basically it.
I just hate when people
he's a talented lyricist.
That's fair. I hate when people assume that I listen to rap music because of what I look like. It's like, I'm not offended. I just have better taste than that. So please give me some credit. All right? No, it's a weird time. I'm glad you brought up the whole music thing, though, Script, because I, too, I couldn't even tell you what's on the damn radio. there's a Kiss commercial that they play on my local news station, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess these are the top 40 hits these days. Like, I didn't realize the Jonas Brothers were around. It is what it is.
They're still around?
I think I saw
They
them on a
get back
commercial.
together or something.
You know-
my sister was listening to them when she was it junior high or high school, one of the two.
Probably closer to the junior high thing because that was their target audience. I mean, I think with regards to the music, that might be one of the appealing aspects of the Guardians of the Galaxy is that, oh wow, songs that are written by people, performed by people, you know, from decades past being brought in.
Well, that first movie's soundtrack is gold.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I listened to it this weekend actually.
I mean, it wasn't until like Infinity War that I was reminded of the Spinners, which I hadn't heard in a decades when they did the Rubber Band Man song. I was like, oh man, I remember listening to them on the radio as a kid. And then you just get back into their old albums, and then that takes you down to funk, and then that takes you down to some of the stuff that wasn't disco in the 70s, and getting into early punk, and then getting into metal and rock and 80s rock and roll and all that stuff. And you're like, wow, that's a rabbit hole I missed going down, because you don't get things that do that anymore. I think, I'm pretty hard pressed to name any musical band in the last 5 or 6 years that kind of took the world by storm. Like, I mean, I never really listened to the Spice Girls, but I remember them vividly. For like 2 years, they owned the planet essentially.
Oh yeah, they did. They were I had a stepsister at the time. I had to listen to that fucking music and see their movie. Let's talk about torture. I was, what was it, 98? So I'd have been
Roger
9
Moore,
years
how
old.
could you?
Have you seen Boat Trip? I mean, that's another time where I said Roger Moore, how could you? But you know, that's a time. Folks, watch Boat Trip if you've never seen it. Roger Moore plays an old gay guy, and it's hilarious.
He does it really well, but like that's the other part too. I've never seen Roger Moore phone in a performance, even when he's doing a comedy.
Here's the weird part. He may be my least favorite Bond. Well, I think Daniel Craig's my least favorite, but I may put him lower on the list. But like as an actor and as a person, I put him high on the list, maybe at the top, because he's good. He's great in other shit, and he really seemed like a great dude. So I'm just like, I'm very pro Roger Moore. I'm just not like pro Roger Moore 007 above anybody else type of thing. So.
Oh yeah, like I've seen some of his older episodes where he was the Saint, and I'm like, ooh, he's real. I can see why they wanted him to be Bond.
Simon
really
Templar's the shit.
You damn right.
I could get lost in a day where it's the Saint, Mission Impossible, the Avengers, and just Man from U.N.C.L.E. on repeats. Just give me new episodes over and over and over. That would be a great day.
There are lots of episodes, man. Like that's the thing. You can definitely, you could occupy a fall season with those shows alone.
If they really want to get me personally hooked on streaming, this would probably take them 1 hour to code. Give me a randomize feature where let's say I turn on King of the Hill. I don't want to sit and read what episode I want. I want to just let them go to random. And boom, it just plays episodes at random constantly. I would watch more streaming shows if I could just, even Disney Plus, if they introduce randomizer, it's like, ooh, X-Men, what do I want to watch?
I think you can do that with Tubi.
Then I need to watch Tubi because I like randomized shit.
Really? My OCD won't let me do that. I have to start at the beginning and watch through. I cannot do that. I can't do that.
Well, Jeff, you're basically
Can't
saying
jump
you
around.
want the old turn the TV on, don't touch the remote, and just wait, let the stuff kind of be programmed in without you actually knowing what's going to happen next. Like back in the old days where you get home from school, you turn on the TV for 4 o'clock, and then it'd either be X-Men, or it'd be Batman, it'd be Spider-Man, it would be whatever. And then you would only find out what the show is coming for the next half hour in the last minute of the end credits of the previous show. And you're like, oh damn, I'm excited for that. And yeah, we don't have that type of magic anymore, really.
No. And I know this sounds super nerdy, but one of the most enjoyable TV experiences for me was the annual Twilight Zone marathon, because it's my favorite show. I love to watch it. But the thing I hate to do is turn it on and go all right, this episode's good, then the next one's going to suck, so I'm just going to skip. I love to turn them on and go, ooh, what's going to be next? Oh, I love this one. Or, oh man, this is one of those ones shot on videotape. I'm going to go get a drink or something. That was part of the fun for me, because the shows are great. The content's great. It really hooks me. But I do like the game-like nature of never knowing what's going to pop up next. It just, I don't know, it makes me want to watch more, because I'm like, all right, one more. If it's good, I'll stick around. If it's not, I'll leave. And then, I have watched, 24 hours straight of The Twilight Zone. I have stayed up for an entire day and just been like, fuck it, I'm going to do this. And I don't regret it. I can't do it with streaming because it's like the option of choice is just too much. It's like, oh, if I'm going to turn on X-Men, do I want to watch the Mojo World episode? Do I want to do the Dark Phoenix saga? I spend 30 minutes guessing, and then I just don't watch anything. That's really what happens with me.
Yeah,
So-
I was there once. I was like, oh, do I want to watch the pilot because I like the pilot, or do I want to watch that Purple Man episode with the orphanage and things? And it's like, do I really need to hear Scott talk about Jean for 20 minutes? Like maybe I can go to a Wolverine episode.
Scott!
Gambit one. Jean! Jean! I mean,
Morph!
yeah, more. I mean, if you were to grab an AI and say, okay, we want to replicate the actor who voiced Scott Summers because he's passed away, all they're going to be able to do is like, Gene, no Wolverine. Gene, no Wolverine. Like, that's all
Professor
they're going to
X.
get out of it.
Well, to be fair, that's pretty much what. Look, I love Cyclops. I was just on a Facebook post earlier before the show going, "Ooh, I'm going to buy that Cyclops action figure. I don't care that's $200." But I do like Cyclops, but he is a very like stern, not one-dimensional character. But I wouldn't get mad if they
He's
just
oddly
did that.
written.
Yeah.
For how he's defined in those earlier X-Men comic books, all the other interpretations after that, he's really oddly written. Almost like he's supposed to be the insecure loser of the team, but at the same time a leader. And that's just my interpretation. I could be, other people could definitely voice other facts of that. But especially in the cartoons, that kind of always threw me off too. It's like, wait a minute, this guy, they're kind of writing him like he's a lapdog to Professor X and not of his own agency at points. And then at other points, he's very confident and powerful and caring. And then he felt kind of all over the place, at least in the animation side of things. In the comics, I would be in and out most of the time because I didn't read X-Men as much as I would read, some Spider-Man, but mostly Batman and Superman and for the Flash and stuff back in the day.
This year, I have consumed more X-Men than ever in my entire life. And that includes being a child, watching the cartoon, playing with my action figures, and renting the games from Blockbuster. Because I consumed this like podcast show. Andrew, I told you about it, man. This radio drama where I just couldn't stop listening to it. And it basically did all the greatest hits of X-Men. And then I went back and read those books. I think modern Cyclops is lame, and the internet doesn't let certain things go, so they keep talking about the character in a certain way. But I've always looked at him as the guy that has to do what's right, even though it's the unpopular thing to do. So it's like, Wolverine's the cool guy, Gambit's the cool guy, but it's like, they're not really in it for the mutant cause. They're just kind of, sometimes Wolverine's a hired gun, metaphorically speaking. And so I enjoy the dynamic of all of them together, but I always feel like, Cyclops he believes more of what he's more invested in Charles Xavier's dream. So I enjoy the character, and I overlook he's got to stick up his ass because he has to. Because if somebody doesn't, then they're just going to be Wolverine teams, and you don't need a team of Wolverines. It'd be lame. It'd be stupid. Everyone would be like a '90s superhero where it's like, yeah, I'm the coolest one with my pouches and my fucking 12-foot gun. Like, give me some depth, some variety, Sorry, that is not a dig at Rob Liefeld. I respect him. So
He's not
I just
my
wish
favorite
he learned how
90s
to
artist.
draw feet.
I agree with all the criticisms, but I gotta say, the thing I like about him is he knows the history of comics, and he keeps evangelizing them in a way, because I wanted to ask you about this. I don't want to make a whole segment of it, but there's this new Spider-Man fan film I'm reviewing for the channel. It's called Spider-Man Lotus. I don't know if you guys heard about it.
I was actually planning on watching that this week.
Yes. I saw that with a buddy. We ended up watching it at double speed because it's really melodramatic.
Thank you.
The other part that also annoyed me is that it's, some people call it a homage. I don't. I think it's kind of a ripoff of a story that I saw in the animated series that I think was also a story from the comics.
You mean the kid who collects Spider-Man?
The kid who collects Spider-Man, yeah. Where, it's a terminally ill child, and basically he learns the origin of Spider-Man, and he knows all the stuff. And I'm like, okay, they didn't do anything different with it enough for it to really be an homage. And it's really dour. And that's kind of not, that's getting the wrong impression from Spider-Man, in my opinion. Like, he goes through a lot of hardship, but he perseveres. And that's kind of where you have to put that perseverance on.
I
Well,
need
I
to get a
think
security system because I feel like you read my notebook. I took notes today, and that is the shit I wrote down. Like, first off, I mean, my notes are basic. Like, music is too dramatic. Why does everyone want to die? Like, it is. My title card will read "not bad" because I didn't find this thing bad. I just found it melodramatic to the point where I'm like, am I gonna like need to listen to like a Linkin Park song after that? Because this shit was really like.
Well,
There's a scene
Where's the
where
hero moment? Like the opening sucked because it's like, oh, we're watching this car that's speeding. All right, so why is Spider-Man chasing a speeding car? Because shouldn't the cops be doing that? And then it's like, oh wait, it's Shocker and they robbed a bank. Well, why didn't you tell us that? Because I was like, I'd not invested at all in what was going on in the beginning because I had no idea what was happening.
Well, the thing is, Peter has gone through, we call it the Parker luck. I mean, he's gone through some real shit. And so there are absolutely times where he can seem down, but it's integral that you bring him up out of that. It's integral because that's part of his character. He, just as you said, Script, he perseveres, he pushes through. Regardless of everything else that's going on, everything else that's coming at him, he finds a way to push through. Yeah, there have been story arcs, good story arcs, where, you know, he's down for a bit. He's dark for a bit. But, like, you have to have that complete arc happen and him come up out of that in the span of a 2-hour film.
Yeah, and I'm going to body shame the guy that played Harry Osborn. I don't actually have anything wrong with him. I just think, man, that poor guy's jaw is trying to jump out of his face.
Wow.
No, it's really heavy and it's really protruded, and it's like, okay, like, you know, there's nothing really normally wrong for that, but if you're doing an acting thing and you're trying to make him a character, you know, with some sort of potential in future, it's like he's not fitting the role for that. It looked weird. It's like maybe cast, like, he would be great for a villain that you throw makeup on and use those types of things. Kind
he
of
should
like
have been the Green Goblin.
Yeah, like he could have been the Green Goblin without the face mask. You just paint it green, throw it smeared, and it works. But I mean, they used another actor to play him. And
dude, that mask, I did. Dr. Coffin Nails enjoyed it. Okay, so as a Spider-Man, like, I look at it like this, and you guys fit into this category, but like, it feels like this group of filmmakers is classic Spider-Man fans, and are Spider-Man fans from the classic era, and I enjoyed that. I respected that. First off, I thought it was neat that they did the wraparound as Spider-Man Blue, which is from like '02, and it's essentially Peter Parker going up to his closet or his attic and basically recording all this shit about Gwen Stacy. And so then the comic is just an homage to old John Romita stuff. So I liked that they made that the narrative thread between everything. With that being said, though, the melodrama was so much. I get it that they're on a shoestring budget; they can only produce so much superhero content, but like, it was really, really like one step away from I'm gonna cut myself reading watching Spider-Man. Like the part where he watches that computer screen, and I'm just like, oh my god, you people don't understand drama the way Tommy Wiseau doesn't understand structure. It's so weird that you have like sad moment, 5-minute flashback on a bridge, but it's bookended by a sad moment of Spider-Man in the rain, essentially crying, and then it's like the fact that they had like CGI that was pretty solid for a fan film. Like, there were a couple of those swinging shots where I'm like, wow, okay, I wish they had more money for this, because this stuff looks good. This stuff actually fits in. It's like, we've all seen like old Star Wars fan films where the CGI is laughable. Mm-hmm. This is pretty good, where it's like, okay, this is like 5 layers away from being like low budget movie quality. And it's like, I enjoyed it, especially that final swing. I thought it was pretty cool. It was like a higher quality video game.
Oh yeah, it looked like they used some sort of Unreal Engine aspect to it. But yeah, watching that thing, I felt like, man, I need a prescription for Xanax out of this, because it's really bad.
Thank you for bracing me, guys.
Some of the acting was kind of off. I appreciated their effort into trying to replicate some of the iconic fashions that the characters wore in the comics in real life. It just didn't kind of work on those bodies necessarily. Like they put the actor into like the yellow turtleneck and the tan jacket, and it's like that for some reason it just does not work for that actor's profile and body and skin tone. So maybe you should have probably not gone too authentic with that, but I appreciated what they were doing. But yeah, it was just listen, I understand a lot of people love fan films. I love making them, but ideally, when you're never going to get the attention you think you're going to get from the people that own the IP you're doing the fan films of. George Lucas was the only one that actually gave a damn. CBS paid you attention before they changed their rules, but they only lauded you guys for doing those fan films because it kept their franchise, their IP lucrative. And that was the kind of unwritten exchange. It's like, make as many fan films as you want. The only rule is don't make money off of them. But keep the conversation of Star Trek alive so that we can keep on selling our stuff so that you guys can love the brand and whatnot. And that all changed because someone got greedy and not on the studio side of things, ironically enough. But these guys here, they demonstrated, okay, decent cinematography, really good special effects for that budget. Maybe you should have put that money into something original and shorter, because that would have impressed people a lot more.
Yeah. And you could take to a film festival.
That you can take to a film festival, that you can monetize on YouTube or any other streaming platform. Right now, you just spent X amount of dollars, even crowdfunded, for a Spider-Man film that you can never make money off of. That might give people some joy, but because there's so much stuff on the internet, it's going to get lost in the ether. And the other part, too, is they didn't get to say anything fun or different about the character to warrant people to really say, yeah, let's give these filmmakers a shot telling a story somewhere else.
No, I don't disagree with that at all, actually. Like I said, I don't disagree. I found it mildly entertaining to watch the Spider-Man origin in a suit that looks just like the Ditko suit come to life. I found the suit that he wore, the whatever his like current suit, looked good. It was like just a montage of famous Spider-Man comics, which I liked. I love Spider-Man. That's my favorite character. Andrew, I stopped reading my Spider-Man comics at night because I got to the Clone Saga. I said, I'm done.
Oh man, yeah. That's a section you can kind of just skip.
I skipped it as a child. I went back to read it as a teenager. Never again. It was just too weird back then. I didn't understand all of it. Now I hate it. As a child, I didn't understand it. I didn't like it as a teenager. But my point is, I'm with you. Like, they could have done so much more. I would still give them, let's say if it's, this is a school, I'd still give them like a 70 out of 100 because I was at least entertained enough to watch it all in one sitting. It was competently shot. The cinematography, I thought they shot the fight scenes too close to where you couldn't really see what was going on.
Christopher Nolan did.
That's how you mask bad choreography execution.
Technically last minute choreography, because they had no clue what they were going to do. They're like, we're going to have a fight scene here. Okay, what do we do? Let's figure it out on the day. That's what they did. You could tell clearly.
That's rough.
I won't watch this again. And I don't mean that as a dig. I'm going to do the review. I'm going to do the video because it's going to sound like a fairly positive review because I didn't think it was a bad fan film. I know this community gushed over a lot of other fan films in the past that I don't dislike. I didn't find them as enjoyable as I found this Spider-Man one. But, I would have really liked it if it didn't have Mary Jane or Gwen. Those actors weren't good at emoting. The wig looked weird. It kind of took me out of the story. I thought Harry was goofy looking, but in the beginning, he was the best actor. Because I bought that he was the ugly son of a rich industrialist who was disappointed in him. And it's like, oh, they even did Harry's drug story, which they've never touched before in any other medium. They have him go become the Green Goblin in the movie, but they never have him become the drug addict like he was in the comic. And so what I want to say is, as a Spider-Man fan, I feel appreciated that it's like the shit that I like, not this new hyper ADHD Spider-Man that's Deadpool 2.0 and the Miles Morales bullshit and Spider-Man wearing Jordans and all this other crap that they've turned the character into. It's like, oh, it's the old Spider-Man, the real one that we all still like. Cool. Thank you. Nice to see an homage to the John Romita era. My favorite artist. X, Y, and Z. But as an overall experience, I'm with you, man. The melodrama made me just talk myself out of ending it all. It was really fucking hard to watch.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't even believe for a second that, because one of the sub-stories is that, Peter was going to propose to Gwen. Well, you didn't show me anything between the two of them that would make me believe that Peter would feel confident that she would say yes if he proposed to her, because it didn't feel like she was really interested in him at all in that entire movie.
No, he fucked up and she didn't forgive him.
Yeah.
Wow. So no resolution. That's cool.
No, there's literally
she
this scene where she's like, I love you, Peter Parker, and it comes out so wooden and so bland. It's almost like she's just, reading a line as opposed to actually feeling it and meaning it. And it was terrible. It was really bad.
Oh my
And
god.
then they'd be like MJ getting like party girl. I don't know what they were doing with that. That was weird.
Yeah, when she's on the rooftop talking to Flash Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, the music in that scene was terrible because it's like, here comes Flash Thompson. They play you like a hero's theme for like when Spider-Man would save the day for Flash Thompson just walking out onto a balcony. It's like, this doesn't fit. But then there's other music that's like so jarring, and you're like, what? Who fucking wrote this, or who like edited this together? That was my big takeaway. Like I said, I want to remain positive because it's easy to take pot shots on fan films, and it's easy to talk shit about people that are making stuff. But I gave it my time. I will, review it to give you guys a take because I am a Spider-Man. I don't want to say an expert to sound like a dick, but I know the character. I know the stuff. Every time they reference something.
On the character. I'll say it for you if you're not going to say it. You're
fine. I'm a Spider-Man expert, but I like legitimately when I was watching, I'm like, oh, that's from this issue. Oh, that's from that. That's from that. Cool.
Yeah,
like
you know
it.
what that makes you, Jeff? A Spider-Man expert.
Yeah.
There could be worse things to be in this world. Like, I don't know. What's a shittier fandom to be an expert in? Like,
My Little Pony.
Yeah.
I was literally gonna go with that. Wow.
I mean, no dig
I don't-
against My Little Pony fans, but
No, they're freaking weird.
Care Bears 2 is too normal for you guys, huh?
I don't even get the appeal of My Little Pony. I've never watched it like for more than a couple of moments, but I'm just like, how is there a fan base? It was during the era where ironic shit was popular. It's like, oh, I love it because it's ironic. But do you really enjoy it? No, it's ironic. It's great. It's funny. What is it? Is like Slapdash is one of them or something like that? I don't know. I'm not even going to try to make names.
Slapdash. I have no idea.
If you're a brony, hey, and you listen to this show, thank you. I'm glad you found us.
Yeah, we won't judge you.
But no, I think I would say this: if you are a big Spider-Man fan, yeah, it's probably worth your time to watch it because I mean they put in a lot of effort, all things considered. Yeah, but yeah, it's more a depressing film than instead of a hopeful one. That's for sure.
Yeah, they definitely missed that point of Spider-Man, and that's there was a moment in time where I was watching it, I'm like, if this continues to like build, I might like this almost as much as Spider-Man 3. And that's not like a dig, that was meant to be like a decent compliment. But at the end of it, I was just like, I would rather watch Amazing Spider-Man 1. At least that movie, like for the melodrama that was the bullshit between Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone, it was like better acted. Like I've never thought Andrew Garfield was a shitty actor. I just didn't like his spider suit. But I don't know, man. I did find one last thing I'll say, Script. The part where Peter stops recording himself talking to Gwen. I'm like, how did Mary Jane and Harry not hear the part where he talked about being Spider-Man? Like that just didn't work for me. It's like he definitely ousted himself as being Spider-Man.
I was also waiting for a better tell that Mary Jane already knew that Peter was Spider-Man, and I don't think they did that because Mary Jane's known for a long time.
Yeah, she saw him climb out his window when she was a kid, or when she was younger. But like, I kind of thought that was her tell at the graveyard when he's talking about Gwen, like Spider-Man retired, and she's kind of looking at him like, "How would you know?" But at the same time, I was like, this actress is kind of smiling, and I don't understand if she understands the emotion that she's trying to convey. So,
yeah, it was kind of interesting that she's the one that's giving the letter from Robbie Robertson to Peter. It's like, but Robbie's kind of his boss, so to speak, and she should be able to find him on his own. Could they just not get the actor to come into play? Like, I didn't understand why it was going through Mary Jane there. I think that was kind of a last minute thing.
Well, because no black people were allowed to be in this movie, Script.
That's.
There weren't any, but I didn't think of that until right this very minute.
Yeah, you're right. There weren't any. I didn't notice. That's strange in New York.
Yeah, everybody was white in this movie, and I don't care. It's not a dig. That will not appear in the review. That's just an afterthought. It's like, oh wait, this is like it is like 1960s New York. Okay, I'm sure even back then it was bullshit to say, but it is what it is.
Oh yeah. But no, yeah, I think I would say this. I would not be surprised if the actresses who played MJ and Gwen just got a cursory, talking to about, okay, these are what the characters are and what they're doing. And the director or writer probably left out the important part, which was, Mary Jane, you secretly know Peter's Spider-Man this entire time, so try and play it like that. One of the other red flags I found is that one of the writers of the script is also the guy that's playing Peter Parker. And I think that's kind of a big mistake. Don't write, as an actor, you really shouldn't write roles for yourself. Just throwing it up there.
Tommy Wiseau taught us that very well.
Yeah. I mean, if there's a role you want to play, hire a writer to write it for you. Don't do it yourself. Even Ben Affleck kind of learned that. He gets other writers to come in and write the roles that he wants to play when he's in those positions.
So you're telling me is if he made that Batman movie, he wouldn't have said the line, "I'm the goddamn Batman," and he would have let somebody else write him some dialogue?
Oh.
I hope so. Oh, God.
From All-Star Batman and Robin.
I mean,
I
listen,
unironically love that line.
It doesn't even bother me. I bought that book. I don't know why.
I mean,
okay, it's Jim
I'll tell you, it's front to back, gorgeous Jim Lee art. That's why you bought it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was always hungry for more Batman Hush.
Oh, I like the art in Hush way more than the storyline. I was into the story up until the last few issues where I'm like, oh, okay, Jeff Loeb just didn't have an ending in mind at all. It's like the Riddler.
He's not my favorite writer.
Yeah. I mean, I dig his concepts. I'm like, oh, man, I love the Long Halloween concept. I think that's fantastic.
I like
cool.
some of his stuff better than others. Like, I love his Return of Supergirl, Batman, Superman, Batman team-up book.
That's with, like, Darkseid, too, right? And all that?
Yeah, and Michael Turner did all the art.
Did you like the animated version of that, Andrew?
I did, actually, quite a lot.
Same.
I thought they did a good job with it.
Dude, all their animated little, over like 90-minute movies, those were awesome. I would rather watch one of those than anything that Warner Brothers has put out theatrically in a long time.
They were pretty good up until around 2013, and that's when they started incorporating like the New 52 stuff. Jay Oliva was doing a lot more directing, and I think he's way more miss than hit, even though I think his art style is actually pretty solid. But yeah, like I've looked at the DC Animated Universe archives, and I would say they have better stories in their first window of releases, and everything from 2013 to now has been really, really crap overall, especially their Suicide stuff. It's like, oh, we're doing the Suicide stuff, so we're going to just do more curse words and nudity and gory violence. It's like, it's kind of not really the DC brand, truthfully. That's just what other people wish the DC brand were, and it's a very loud minority.
Yeah.
I don't like it myself.
I mean, I like the original Suicide Squad comic books, like way back in, was it the late 80s, early 90s? And they were fun, and they were edgy, but they weren't gratuitously edgy. They were getting around certain things, and I thought it was clever, and I liked how they really enjoyed making fun of Captain Boomerang a lot.
I would too, and then I saw that movie, and both Suicide Squad films were bad. Sorry if you like both. James Gunn, folks. I'm not here to knock him.
I will say this: James Gunn's was better than the Ire version, the studio version of Ire's thing, but I was overall like not something I wanted to watch again. Aside from the fact that I picked up quite quickly that this movie is literally mocking not just Warner Brothers over the last 10 years, but Zack Snyder's take on these characters. I mean, he's just like, we're going to kill everybody. I don't care. The Thinker dead. The detachable kid, we're going to kill him too. Like all these things that Warner Brothers otherwise would be like, we really shouldn't be killing these characters because we want to bring them back to maximize their value in other features or television. James Gunn was like, no way. They already started doing that by killing Zod. So I'm just going to kill everybody. And I thought, oh, I see exactly what he's doing here. That's funny.
Is it going to work, this new DC reboot? I don't want to keep the show going longer, but I really don't think it's going to work. I think we've reached critical mass of DC reboots and reimaginings. It's like, you got Batman and Superman, and maybe a couple of others will work. It's like Batman and all of his rogues gallery and those spin-off characters will work. And this is my take. Mm-hmm. But like, I don't ever see a superhero universe being built up on film like Marvel was. I don't see Marvel having any big hot, future. And I don't see DC with James Gunn at the helm being the next great thing. You might get one movie that blows people away, and I don't think it's just going to continue the momentum.
It's a really, I think it's still a touch and go aspect of it. I'm pulling for him to have a good start. He does approach film way differently than a lot of the other people that have helmed the most recent Marvel films and also general films overall. If he comes at Superman and all the other ones with the same mentality they came out with Guardians of the Galaxy, which was essentially, I want to try and generate the feeling I had watching Star Wars with Guardians of the Galaxy for that generation. Just give them that wow factor. And the other part too that James Gunn has over the advantage of at least a lot of the stuff that's been coming out, especially in Warner Brothers, on the comic book side of things, and Marvel most recently, is that he knows how to play with relationships, and he knows the importance of why they're there. And that's the one thing that was really missing from the previous regime of the DC films, is that you didn't really care about the characters and their relationships. Like, there was no romance in Man of Steel between Henry Cavill and Amy Adams at all.
No, well, there was -12 chemistry. So
there was almost some between Chris Pine and Gal Gadot, but I think that had more to do with the fact that Chris Pine's a pretty charming actor, and he knows how to play around with those types of things. But it didn't. I mean, definitely didn't come through in Wonder Woman 84. There's definitely no chemistry in the Aquaman film, and there wasn't even a real love story in The Flash. Like, it's missing the heart of what makes Superman makes those movies. And that was one thing that I always felt that was brilliant about Richard Donner, is when he was developing Superman. He had read Mario Puzo's thing and was like, this is terrible. And then he brought in Tom Mankiewicz and the Newmans next, and then Tom Mankiewicz to polish it up. And the one thing he realized is that Superman, yes, it's an adventure story, but at its heart, it's a love story. It's a love story between parents and child, sending their child away to give them a chance at life. That's done and motivated by love. It's then the Kents raising him and keeping him safe, and that's done by love. And then there's Clark Kent meeting Lois Lane and being incredibly impressed by her ambition and her gusto and falling in love with her, so much so to the point where he's willing to, alter the course of human history to keep her alive because he cares so much about her. And then the other part too is Superman's relationship with humanity. He wants to be a friend, and friendship is really the precursor to love. And it's like, oh, that's what Richard Donner says. Like, Superman is a love story film. And then he then goes on and doubles down with the Lethal Weapon things. He's like, Lethal Weapon is a love story. It's a brotherly love story between Riggs and Murtaugh, and how much they care about each other, because they only have each other when it comes out to working on the streets as police officers. And Maverick is a love story too, between Maverick and Jodie Foster's character and his complications with his dad, played by James Garner. Like, he does. That's what Donner did. He figured out, like, it's emotion, it's love, and whatnot. And you can only cross our fingers that James Gunn has picked up on that, because he's already executed it with the Guardians of the Galaxy's films. When you take a look at Super, that's a story about love and love broken. And even Romeo and Juliet, again, another love story. So maybe he might be able to pull it off. I'm pulling for him, but the moment he drops the ball, I'll be the first to say, yeah, he dropped the ball. Too bad. But I mean, he's already established a record that he could probably do that. Heck, even in the Suicide Squad, there's a love story between Bloodshot and his daughter, and trying to do this stuff to be a good man and influence for her, even though they hated each other, kind of, or at least were just very disappointed in each other to the point where they're like to throw F-bombs back and forth. Heck, even in Peacemaker, there's love stories underneath that. There's the fact that Peacemaker can't reconcile his relationship with his dad, who is exactly the opposite of him in every way. He's a racist genius who's also very thin and kind of wiry. And then you have John Cena coming in as Peacemaker, who's this big dumb dope who works out too much and doesn't know how to solve any problems without killing people. There's things going on there, and so that's something to think about, and hopefully we'll get something in that realm for the Superman legacy. Again, I do not doubt people who don't want to hold their breath for that. I think you're perfectly valid to do so, given the track record so far. But we'll have to wait and see. at this point. I would say let the first trailer, dictate your opinions whether you want to invest in it or not. If you're not wowed by the first trailer, I totally am on board with you for wanting to skip out on Superman Legacy.
Well said. Andrew, anything you want to add before we check in with the audience?
I think Script hit every nail on the head there. I don't really think I could add to that without extending our stay here far longer than I'm sure anybody wants to listen to us.
I mean, the audience usually wants 12 to 15 hour shows. They would rather me stream than eat or live, but hey.
I guess that's true.
Not tonight, folks. I got to be up early to get ready for Horror Hound because it might be this weekend, but I got to prepare. We got to take equipment. We're filming. We're doing all kinds of stuff. Hashtag Suit Saturday. Follow us. So, Modalicious says, damn, Donald Trump out here catching indictments like they're Pokemon. Well, like the theme song says, gotta catch them all. I honestly don't. I had to ask a friend what's going on with all that because I'm not like anti-news. I just kind of live in my own world right now, taking care of business. So I have to figure out from a lot of people what's actually going on out there. So, Modalicious, I couldn't even tell you. That's not even me trying to not talk politics because I really don't care about that shit anymore. I just don't know what he's up against. I don't know what the new indictment is. So, folks in the chat, if you care to enlighten me, enlighten me. Shrebels08 has a request for a button. He requests another one and a Joe Rogan. Well, since we're in this part of the stream, we'll give you the Joe Rogan first because it's a hell of an experience.
Imagine if you gave a white supremacist 5-MeO DMT and then as the first one, as they're exhaling,
yeah. Yeah.
What a rush!
Thank you, Joe, for all the years of entertainment. And then also, we have this request from Shrebels08 as well.
Another one. Another one. Another one. Another one. Another one.
Seeing that guy get lit the hell up never gets old.
No, and it never will. Thank you to everyone who has let us watch that guy die hundreds of times here on the channel. JRG Project says, so if Disney goes bankrupt, will WDW Pro have to change his channel name? I think WDW Pro will find other topics to cover because, well, when you have a smart take, you can take that anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. When you're also highly intelligent and you also have analytical skills like Pro does.
Join us next week, folks, where we talk rocket science and theory of relativity. So Georgian says, might not catch the Thursday WCBS stream due to the Maui wildfire. Well, you got to be careful, man. So I posed this guys on the High Council can chime in. Who's the horniest character in horror?
Dracula?
Who'd you say?
Dracula, maybe?
Oh, okay.
I don't honestly know. I don't.
Or you're talking
watch
about
that
like
much
physical
horror.
horns, which might be some sort of like.
That'd be Tim Curry's character in Legend, but, you know,
Yeah.
that's not as fun to talk about.
I don't watch enough horror to be able to speak on that. I mean, the type of horror movies that I watch are mainly like stuff like The Conjuring, and I mean, I've seen the first film of each of the, you know, the big three for the slashers. I've seen Halloween, I've seen Nightmare on Elm Street, and I've seen Friday the 13th, but I haven't seen any of the sequels to any of those.
Maybe, probably a character in the Hellraiser series. There definitely got to be someone horny in
Uncle
that.
Frank?
Maybe. Ooh.
I'm going to say the horniest character in horror is Annie from the first Halloween, because she dies to get dick. She's so horny she doesn't realize that the car that she had previously realized was locked, and she walked back in the house to get the keys. She didn't realize the door was open, and then she got stabbed in the fucking throat. So I'm gonna go with Annie, because Annie wanted it so bad. Oh Paul, that's all she could think about. She probably was thinking about getting boned by Paul as she died in the car. Not what the hell happened, not why am I dying. It's oh Paul. And you never even see Paul in the fucking movie. Like Linda, she brings Bob over to the house. They get killed after they bang for like 5 seconds. I'll tell you this, Sjorgen, the least horny, maybe the horniest character in the whole series is Judith Meyer's boyfriend, who goes upstairs and 18 seconds later, he's done. He's busted. He's left. That's the lamest lay in horror history. So, folks, if you want to hear us cover that, ask us questions like this at Horror Hound, because we'll be drinking, we'll be having a good time, and
it's a good
that's
question.
a great question.
That's funny.
Jack White says, Jeff, have you checked out the anime series I sent you links to, and did you see the Red Dead Redemption one is getting released on PS4? Jack, I haven't watched much. Like I mentioned, watching the Spider-Man stuff because it was for the channel. But I am going to watch some anime and stuff. Probably put it on in the background when I'm doing more Wokebusters pages, because being around other artwork helps me create more artwork. That being said, I have seen that Red Dead Redemption is getting a re-release. I think it's bullshit that they charge $50 for the same old game that I can put in my Xbox and play with the same quality. I'm not here to tell you, I'm not a consumer advocate group, but I advocate you are smart with your money and maybe just play it on an old Xbox, because I got it for the Switch. Do you need it for the Switch? Or the PS4? It's like, it's a 360 game being upscaled, or not even upscaled, it's just being ported to a new console. It's more powerful. So, at the end of the day, folks, always do what you want to do, but don't get hosed by Rockstar. Their re-releases and remasters have been shit for the last few years. That Grand Theft Auto one, I'm pissed. And I didn't even pay for it. I got it on Game Pass. I want a refund. Screw you guys. And I don't even know if I'm going to buy GTA 6 anymore. Oh, it's so exciting. No, it's not. The game's 10 years old, or GTA 5's 10 years old. You've lost me on Grand Theft Auto. I'm sorry. That's my platform, and I'm stepping down. Mr. Floppy Knickers says, want to save Disney? Star Wars smugglers.
Floppy Knickers.
I like it too.
Sorry,
Star Wars.
that's cool.
Oh, you're good, man. Believe me, the names get me. There are some ones that stick with me. There was this one called Up the Ass Franklin that broke me. And then, yeah, it was actually like the fucking turtle. It was just Up the Ass Franklin. That was the best one.
It was literally Franklin the Turtle?
Yep. And it just said Up the
my
Ass Franklin. We get some good regular ones. But Mr. Floppy Knicker says, want a show to save Disney? Star Wars smugglers written in the vein of Firefly. Strong characters, heists, dodging imps, saving folks. Easy win. You say stuff like that after I say I'll never watch Star Wars anymore, and I want to watch that show.
I know someone already wrote that pilot.
You call
over
it
a year
an
ago.
easy win, and unfortunately, Disney Lucasfilm could teach a masterclass in failing at easy wins. All they had to do was leave Star Wars the fuck alone.
Script, what could you say about that? You were talking about somebody wrote a script like that a year ago?
Yes, a friend I'm working with right now wrote a spec script for a Star Wars smuggler show over a year ago. It's really, really good. Really good. Does things that haven't been done in Star Wars before, that is very in line with what original Star Wars was.
See, anything with blasters, spaceships, and outrunning the Imperials is gonna hook me. If you can get me away from lightsabers and Jedi, I'm there. That's become boring to me. I don't want to be a Jedi. After I found out they were basically space monks or spunks, I don't want to be a Jedi. I'd rather be anything else. So Georgian says, thoughts on brand manager experts saying that Rachel Ziegler's comments could ruin Snow White film and Disney could go into crisis talk mode via the Daily Mail. I'm working on a video about the Snow White stuff because I put out a poll today on Twitter, what do you guys want me to talk about? And so I've taken a long-form approach to writing a multi-page video. I think it's possible. I don't think this movie has a lot going for it, and we're past the age of controversy selling a movie. Like, you can't hype up the movies with negative press anymore.
No,
Little Mermaid won't break even. Yeah. It's hyperbolic bullshit. the people who talk about it get more views than the actual movies themselves because it's so fascinating to watch a train wreck. Like Dane Cook says, we love car accidents in this country. Everybody loves a good train wreck too. And the internet's full of them, especially when they got a couple $100 million behind them. That is the Disney way to do things, folks. And I don't think it'll be changing anytime soon, but I don't think this movie is going to have a strong return. It won't hurt the actress's career. She's got the right look. She's been in enough other shit. She's worked with Steven Spielberg, so she's fine. But this Snow White movie's DOA.
She's also, yeah, not only does she have the right look, but she actually has a far more feminine body than some of the previous generation of actors that have come out there. There's an interview that's 4 or 5 months old of her on the Jimmy Kimmel show in a dress, and you could actually see, oh yeah, she looks like a woman. You put Gal Gadot in that dress, you're not getting any of that action from her body. But Rachel Zegler's got it there, and that's going to probably be the next thing that's going to happen to her. She might have a couple of other films, and then eventually she's going to get more into the Dina Meyer, Denise Richards level thing. That's usually what Hollywood does to talent like her.
I mean, if she can make a movie as good as Starship Troopers, I'd be pretty happy.
I think a lot of people would be pretty happy with that.
It's such a good movie. Do you want to know more? Yes, I do. But so, Georgian, I'll check into that. I actually took a screenshot of your message. I'll check out the Daily Mail stuff and see if it'll fit in with our video that's going to drop on Thursday. John Thomas, thank you very much. He asked this to Pro, but I'll pass this along. He says, Pro, why do analysts not understand this? How can they think Iger is a savior still? Well, ScriptDoctor, I'll ask you, how do you think people can consider Bob Iger a savior when he's the one that put the company in the position that they're in?
Because they're still holding on to the gross profit idea that they had prior to the pandemic. Disney at that point in 2019 pretty much could do no wrong. They were even able to hide a lot of the negative impact of Captain Marvel before Endgame. I mean, not from a lot of the people on YouTube, but the greater audience didn't seem to have any real issues with it. And they are hoping that could be restored again. They want to. They're like a gambler who used to bet on a very reliable horse. Now the horse is kind of dying. It's not doing so well, but they're still betting on them because the odds are increasing that better for them. If they pull off a win, they'll make a huge payday. I think that's what's happening with some of the analysts, at least the ones that are looking at the stock market and at the interior bubble of reputation that's still around in Hollywood. Like Disney is still considered top dog right now, even though they're not doing so well. And I think that's just what it is at this point. I think they're betting on the fact that Iger has ushered in Disney to be a powerhouse studio, and they have blind faith in him that his next set of course of actions are going to have another revolutionary impact on the studio in a positive light. And I think they can't take their eyes off the idea and look at the whole, because it might damage their own credibility because they've backed him so long so far.
Well said. Folks, he is a script doctor after all. He knows what he's talking about. Xavier to God, what is up? He says, Star Wars Theory did a prank of a skit of conforming to Kathleen Kennedy getting fired from an inside source, would reveal himself and give the details. I actually talked about that video and showed a little clip, and some people thought it was me making fun of Doomcock. It's like, Star Wars Theory did a prank video about that, where somebody from the center of the earth is confirming that Kathleen Kennedy is going to get fired and all this stuff. And we just laughed about it in another video.
He made the video to prove a point, and it was kind of funny.
Yeah. And people were like, oh, how could you make this video about Doomcock? I'm like, well, I didn't make this video. I guess you guys just think everything... It's like, I don't really dislike that guy. But people that, like, go to bat, like, these acolytes of it, it's like, guys, people are talking about it. And if we talk about the people that are talking about it, you can't Streisand affect this, you can't make it go away. It's not going to go away. So if we talk about it, we talk about it. And I have seen that video, Xavier to God. I thought it was quite funny and well done. We said what we had to say earlier in the show. If you want to hear it, check it out. It's been a great episode tonight. Lou Capadona, thank you very much. I said that one right. The DEI experiment is a massive failure. We refuse to follow the like lemmings as they cater to everyone else but the core audience. Suck it, Black Rock.
Indeed.
Wasn't it confirmed that Disney, like the Lemmings, actually don't kill themselves? That it was done for a feature, like back in the day.
I think it was some sort of like prank that they did with the Lemmings to get them to do that. They don't actually have a an easy notion to follow a leader in that regard.
Well, thanks, Disney. You killed animals to make your bullshit documentary.
Wow.
Well, I don't think they actually fell to their deaths. I think they just fell off screen and just went to the little ledge below and kept on going or what have you.
Okay, that's different, but still, I'd be like, man, if they really did that, that's some dirty shit. But thank you, Lou. I'm glad that the DEI experiment has failed. Somebody, Hollywood look at me and go, oh, diversity is great for a guy like you. No, good entertainment is great for a guy like me. Don't you tell me what's great for me. Modalicious says, South Park called it decades ago, hippies don't have any money.
That's right.
No, they do not.
They spent it all on Ben and Jerry's ice cream and whatever other bullshit they're into. Enrique Vasquez says, Disney has gotten so bad that even MatPat is calling them out on it. I saw Literature Devil's channel. Also, Predator Beverly Hills Cop button, please. Enrique, you'll have to text me and tell me another button because we get copy strike, so I got rid of that button. I'm sorry. Sadly, anytime Axel F plays... Yeah, I love that button.
Lame.
I know. Thanks, YouTube.
It sucks.
But yeah, I have to check out the video from MatPat because I enjoy... I used to watch a shitload of MatPat content until he went on the Five Nights at Freddy kick. And then I was like, dude, I get it. You're making money. But, like, I don't give a shit about Five Nights at Freddy's. And I'm not going to see the movie. I'm not going to buy the toys or the games. It's just not for me, man. So thank you, Enrique. If you can find anything that's not Beverly Hills Cop related, I can gladly play it for you. Xavier to God says, what female wrestler would you take a stink face from? Oh my God. When this message came in earlier, I wanted to answer it right away, but I didn't want to cut off ScriptDoctor and Pro because we were having such a great conversation tonight. Hit that thumbs up button if you've enjoyed it too, folks. A wrestler that could give me a stink face that I wouldn't mind. Obviously, look, I'm going to give you a list. I'm sorry.
He's got the list.
Yes, hold on. Let me click my pen. I just made the list. Anyway.
Yes, you just made the list.
It's after midnight. I'll say this shit. It's now WCBS After Dark. So, folks, join us in here where we'll talk about wrestlers. Female wrestlers we'll take a stink face from because no Rikishi. So, obviously, from WWE, like Trish Stratus would be great. Bailey would be great. And I'm just going by, like, the backside that would be worth it. Toni Storm, Sky Blue, Anna Jay, Paige Van Zandt, Mandy Rose, Tiffany Stratton. I watch wrestling. I know all these ladies. So yeah, Xavier to God. Of the main roster ones, I'd say no to like. I'm trying to think who's on the main roster that I'd say no to. That's the harder question tonight. Who would I not take? What female wrestler would I not take a stink face from? Like of all time, it'd be like no to Bertha Faye or Nia Jax or Karma. Yeah, I met Chyna. She was cool, but I never thought of her as like that kind of female wrestler. I had her action figure. I played with it. I thought she was cool. Never was into her. Like a theme song says, "Don't treat me like a woman. Don't treat me like a man." All right, you're a character to me. So thank you.
You're just kind of you, I guess.
Yeah, she was very nice. I was like I've told this I've told this story on the show before. I was the last fan to meet her. I met her at the end of Horror Hound 2016. I'm on her YouTube channel on a video called Jeff the Artist, and she died 2 days later. So that was it.
Holy shit.
I was the last Chyna fan that ever met her because it was at the end of the show. I gave her this art print I did. She took it home with her. Like, that was kind of cool. So, R.I.P. Chyna.
Damn.
Retro Phoenix sends in a $5 super chat with no message. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate the support. Enrique asks, Script, would you be able to get Chato to stream with Jeff? I think that would be a good show.
Oh, probably.
Cool. That'd be fun. Somebody I watch on YouTube and go, man, that's a good channel. So I'd have a lot of fun with that. Folks, if you have recommendations, you know what to do. Reach out. Ask people. I'm an easy guy to reach and an easier guy to stream with. So thank you, Enrique. I appreciate that. Xavier to God says, so supposedly all three Spider-Man actors done a gay role. Tom Holland and Andrew Did Tobey Maguire do one?
I am not certain. I haven't
wouldn't be
actually watched
surprised.
that much of Toby's stuff outside of, like, I saw Pleasantville. I saw, was it Seabiscuit?
Same. Have you ever seen
and-
Brothers? Like that's
No.
solid when he comes back from the war, and
Oh yeah, and
he
his
thinks that
brother Jake Gyllenhaal cheats, nails his wife. Yeah.
Natalie Portman, right? Isn't that who plays his
Yep.
wife?
I think it's
Okay.
yeah. I think it's Natalie Portman.
I wouldn't
Yeah,
fight
I'm
for
not
Natalie
sure.
Portman.
Nah.
I'm sorry, that sounds mean. Thomas Steen says, if you're not going to go back to the 50s and Eddie Cochran, Vince Taylor and his Playboys, or Peanuts Wilson, you're not going back far enough. Those are... I mean, when you say Peanuts Wilson, I just thought, oh, Peanuts, like Charles Schultz Peanuts. No, Peanuts Wilson.
When I hear the word peanuts, that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Sometimes I think about that more than the food itself. It's like, Charlie Brown. I will have to check those names out, Thomas Steen. I like old stuff, but I don't go back that far in all my pop culture, but I should. Now, folks, this is a very generous super chat from our friend Rod Thunderheart, who says, Hail, Jeff, Andrew, and Script. Couple bucks to promote See-Through Love. The invisible Spanish teacher falls in love with the new gym teacher who's blind but can see her by feeling the energy fields in everything and everyone. Find at Friesen Press. Folks,
Yeah.
not only did I read about this and think it was awesome, I actually own a copy. That's what I'm knocking on right here. It's got a cool cover, it's a big book, and Rod, when I get through some of my work, I'm going to check this out and let you know what I think about it. So, folks, if you want to get... see, here we are again, talking about people making their own stuff. If you want a unique story, a unique tale of love, well, then you should check out See-Through Love by Rod Thunderheart. His name sounds like a wrestler. His book reads like... I wasn't saying reads like a fine promo, but I don't want to make that sound like a dig. It's fun. I flipped through it. I've only looked at a little bit of it, but it's you're going to enjoy it, folks. Believe me. Friesen Press, you can go there, get it shipped to you directly. I got the hardback cover because it's nice. And yeah, Rod, thank you very much for all the support for the channel. And folks, I hope you check out Rod's work. I think you're going to like it. Rod Thunderheart also says, make sure to go to Script's place.
His Patreon.
You can, yes. In fact, I've got a conversation lined up with Rod Thunderheart on my Patreon. I do private one-on-ones with Patreon members at a certain tier. So if you ever want to get a hold of me, talk your stories, or just shoot the breeze in general, I do that once a month for all my patrons at the higher levels.
Remember, Script's name is Rod Thunderheart. You know, you got to say it like a wrestler.
It's Rod Thunderheart. Yeah.
It has to be said that way. This is the way.
If I could hire Diedrich Bader to talk for me, I would. I think his voice is cool.
Oh, he's a great voice.
You got to watch this episode of King of the Hill where it's him and Macho Man Randy Savage. They go to Bill's house and they all start this gym together. And they're like, if you're not feeling the pump, you're not feeling anything. It's just like over the top.
Is that
great.
the one where Bill works out so hard he pushes his colon out of his butt?
Yep.
Yep. That's a great one.
I love that show so much. Jack White, thank you very much. He says, the only movies I've seen this summer are Sound of Freedom, Mission Impossible, and Psycho-Pass Providence. I've only seen one of those three, but I wish I could take back Barbie. It's gonna, and Flash.
Are you low energy right now?
Bro, I'm like zero energy. I'm not
The
Knuff
memes
right
that
now.
have come out of that shit kill me.
Modalicious wanted to let us know a couple minutes ago the stream has a blank background. Folks, does it still have a blank background? I'm seeing a normal...
I'm seeing it normal here on my end.
Yeah, looks normal on my end. If I pull up the stream over on my other tab, it looks normal there as well.
Well, Modalicious, if it was a hiccup, thank you for letting us know. We appreciate the message anyway. TLJ Screwjob says, Hollywood's effing up so bad with ideology, even Tommy Wiseau said it doesn't make sense. What? Why do you think that would work? Let me reread that because I'm confused. I understand the ideology part. Tommy would say that doesn't make sense. Why do you think that... What does he mean? Why do you think that would work? Do you guys understand?
Maybe he thinks, why would you think that would work?
Oh, okay, the ideology stuff, and why would you think that worked?
Or
Because
yeah, why'd you think that would work? Yeah, maybe that way.
Oh, I think he's quoting it. Is what he is doing. He's quoting Tommy Wiseau. That's my guess.
The grammar is too proper.
how does his voice go? Oh, hi, babe. What? I God, I just
Why did you think that would work? Oh,
yeah,
no,
thank you. That's like I
so
can't.
hard.
I'm not from New Orleans. I can't speak with that diction.
He's not from New Orleans either.
I know. Here's the thing that no one talks about. Like, his aura is vanished. If you read the Disaster Artist book, Greg Sestero essentially tells you everything about Tommy Wiseau. He uses a thinly veiled, not allegory, a thinly veiled, like, he talks about some character, some guy who was from Eastern Europe and comes to America and has a car wreck and then builds his empire selling, this and that. It's like, bro, this is just the story of Tommy Wiseau. The book is way better than the movie. Jack White again, thank you. He says, what Iger's legacy really is taking out of politics is turning Disney into EA of the mainstream entertainment world.
Ooh.
That's a burn and a half.
Yeah.
Also, up next, Xavier to God, thank you for correcting me, because this is number 1 on my list. Jeff, you forgot Nikita Lyons. She would be number 1 on my list to take a stink face from. There you go. I mean, her nickname is Thakita. She wears a bikini that says that on that. I fucked up. It's late. I'm sorry. That'd be number 1. I was trying to go to TNA because they have some good-looking women too, but yep, it's Nikita Lyons, number 1. I'll take a concussion. Thank you. Jack White says, when are you going to get Doomcock back on, Jeff? And will you ever go on his show Pop Culture Breakdown? And they do a segment on it called Movies We Love. I would be willing to go. That's all I can say. I'll be willing to go. Shoot him a message. Shoot him a super chat. Tell him that I am available. He's just got to send me a message. I'll send him a message. If I get a response, cool. Never had any bad blood with the dude, so I'm down. I'll go wherever I'm welcomed. I just want to make the internet more fun to inhabit. So, Jack, you tell him we said that too. All right, guys. This is a fun one since we brought up Peanuts from TLJ Screwjob. Fuck, Marry, Kill. A Charlie Brown Thanksgiving. It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown and a Charlie Brown Christmas.
It feels so weird. They're children's films.
You got to remember what Fuck, Marry, Kill actually means is your favorite, your second favorite, and your least favorite.
No, I know. I do get it. It just,
It's a cartoon, bro, okay?
Gosh. All right. Merry Charlie Brown Christmas. That one's the greatest. Great Pumpkin gets the F, and Kill Charlie Brown Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's the same for me.
I try not to give the same answers to, make these fun for everybody, but that's exactly how I'm going to go. I love a Charlie Brown Christmas. I don't even remember what the Thanksgiving one's about.
Dude, you and me both. I've probably seen it once, but I'll watch Great Pumpkin and Charlie Brown Christmas every single year.
I got a rock all the fucking time. Like, it could be the middle of the year.
Yes, I do too.
Like, we'll be drinking or something. People are like, what'd you get? They're like, I got a Lagunitas. I got a flat tire. I got this. I got a rock. And I always say that shit just out of the blue.
Yep.
Thank you, though, TLJ Screwjob. MJ1 Media says, just to support the world-class bullshitters, LOL. Well, you know what, MJ Media 1? Thank you very much. And I see the stuff you post on social media. I wish you nothing but the best. Folks, check out MJ1 Media. He's a cool dude who puts out a lot of stuff, and his logo looks like Blockbuster, which actually always catches my attention. So, thank you for taking me down memory lane. TLJ Screwjob also says, take a stink face from the Bella twins and refuse one from old Mae Young.
Oh. Only Nikki Bella.
You're not into Brie mode.
Oh, I'm gonna throw up.
I don't even like them. They're just not my style. They suck in the ring. Also, I can add a no to the list of Charlotte Flair, because that would be weird. I would also pass on Ronda Rousey, but I forgot to mention Rhea Ripley, which you'd probably die because it's full of muscle and would kill you. So,
wow.
Yeah, she's intense. I'd also say no to Shayna Baszler because, yeah, I won't even be mean. No to Shayna Baszler. Thank you, TLJ Screwjob, for your. all that stuff. Hold on, missed that one. Fuck, Marry, Kill from Xavier to God. Goku versus Vegeta, Frieza, and Cell. Any Dragon Ball Z fans to answer this one? Because I actually do know all these sagas.
Yes. Kill Cell. Fuck versus Vegeta. Marry versus Frieza.
Dude,
best villain in the
you must be able to
franchise.
read my mind.
Best
I was
villain
going
in
to say the same
franchise.
thing. Dude, the Planet Namek saga was awesome. Like, I remember catching that when it first aired on Toonami back in '99. I would go
Same.
over to my friend's house every day. I'm like, dude, is it time to watch Dragon Ball Z? He's like, yeah. Like, we'd get to his house, Reboot would be on, and we're like, yeah, fuck this show. We'd be waiting, and then Dragon Ball Z would start, and you're like, oh my god, this is it. And then it's like 8 minutes of build up, and then nothing. But then it's like the last 30 seconds, you're like, I gotta come back tomorrow. And I would go to his house for weeks on end to watch Dragon Ball Z. Like that.
Dude,
was
5
the
minutes.
Shit. Yep.
Only 5 minutes.
And that narrator would be like, the planet's about to explode. Will Frieza and Vegeta, or will Frieza and Goku finally fight in this episode? Find out next time on Dragon Ball Z. And I'm like, I will find out.
No, you won't. Not for another 20 more episodes.
Such high energy from that announcer.
Dude, that guy was great.
Yeah.
There was a videotape that they released. I got it through Burger King. But he did an entire videotape that was the entire Dragon Ball Z saga. It was just him. And it was like clips. It basically was like a 45-minute clip show of every episode through the androids. And then I guess they hadn't dubbed the rest of them yet. But I watched that tape fucking daily. I loved me some DBZ.
That is
I just wish
absolutely amazing.
I just wish I had the time to watch every episode. I did it once after I graduated from college. And it was a good time.
I think there's a Dragon Ball Z Abridged where it goes through all the sagas in like a 40 minutes in each video on YouTube somewhere.
It's
might watch
in
that.
a comedic way, yes.
Yes, it's very comedic, but the thing is you don't miss a thing because again, in most of the Dragon Ball Z stories, there's a lot of charging up and waiting. So,
Do you know why that is?
cheap animation, even though
They
it's
were
really good
developing-
individual cells, but yeah.
They were developing the show as the same time as the manga was being written, so they didn't know what to do. So they made these filler episodes because the source material wasn't made yet. So a lot of it was like the book came out, then they went right to tell the story. It's a crazy thing. That's my favorite. That's not my favorite anime series, but it's my favorite series to read about the history because it's so universal. Like, I know people like the newer stuff or some of these more obscure things, but really Dragon Ball Z is the game changer. It's arguably the most important anime series in this country because it made so many kids anime fans. Like,
Oh yeah, that's what
Yeah.
got so many of us into it in the first place.
I have a theory that if it was the 90s and you just took heavy metal music and martial arts, you could make $1 billion. Like, Dragon Ball Z is like an offshoot of Power Rangers. I know it's not the same content, but it's like they took that same hyper over the top guitar and like just they made the action so crazy and it worked. Like, every boy in America. I was watching both of those shows as a child. They made me very happy. So I still buy my Goku action figures.
I'll have to shoot you a photo of my DBZ figure shelves.
What company do you buy from?
I get the ones that are. I'm blanking on the manufacturer right now because all my figures are actually in storage. But they're the ones that usually range from like $25 to $50 depending on the size of the figure. So they're not
Okay.
like the super expensive ones, but they're crazy detailed for the price. Like they're some of the best value in collectibles, honestly.
I have a couple of the SH Figure Arts ones, and I'd like to get the core group, but I missed a couple of them on initial release, and now they're like $80 to $90 a figure, and I'm like, I like
Ugh.
Vegeta, but not for $90.
Ugh, that's yeah. If I'm paying $90 for a figure, then needs to have some TNA.
Well, folks, if you want some tits and art, go to titsandart.com.
I was about to plug it for you. you caught that segue perfectly. That is
Thank you,
called
sir.
a layup, ladies and gentlemen.
Boom, that's why we're a fucking award-winning team.
Fuck yeah.
Jack White says, Wolf, would you have seen the series Malevolent Spirits Monogatari?
Monogatari. I know of it. I haven't seen it. It's on my Crunchyroll watch list. I just the amount of time that I get to dedicate to actually knocking down that said watch list is very minimal.
I feel the pain, bro. Thank you to Jack White. Enrique Vasquez, thank you very much again, and I'll press your button in a second. He says, I've been listening to a lot of Ocarina of Time retrospectives. Script and Andrew, did you guys play Majora's Mask? If so, what did you think? Fat button, please.
Oh, yeah. I played the crap out of Majora's Mask. I think it's an underrated Zelda game and an underappreciated one.
Yeah, I never beat the game, but I did play it a few times because my friend had it because I never owned an N64.
Oh, you missed out, man. Did you have a PlayStation?
Okay, weird story. So one Christmas, my parents got me a PlayStation 1 and a Nintendo 64, but I wasn't interested in it because I still liked going outside to play, and I had a bunch of really cool computer games at that time. And so my dad had to return them to the store because he still had the receipts, and the store owner was like, I've never seen this in my life before. And my dad ended up getting me like a basketball, a hockey stick, football, and some sports gear stuff. And that's what I ended up playing with for those years afterwards. So yeah, that's it. But I my friends all had the video game system, so if I ever wanted to play, I could just hang out with them at their place because they always wanted to play all the time. And then I had other friends that wanted to do outdoor sports activities and stuff, so I got to bounce between both. But yeah,
that's sacrilegious to me. Like,
take this back. What the fuck?
Yeah, like the only console, not even a console, maybe the PSP, I could have given back because I barely played that thing. Like, I watched more UMDs on it, and then I learned how to like put video files on there. So I just like watched shit on there that I would download. But that story hurt my soul, a little ScriptDoctor.
It's I'm sorry for that, but it was just it was a different part of my life. I mean, by the time those two came out, I had also just started dating my girlfriend at the time, who I was with for 10 years. So, if I was going to play any games, it was going to be with her, and it ended up being with her a lot. So I think I made the right call. I mean, I agree. Even when I think of it retroactively, it's like, man, if I did play the PlayStation and the N64 all the time, I wouldn't have actually been hanging out with her. And I would have missed out on a lot more fun with her than I would have on the video games, which, again, I'm older now. I actually have, I have an Xbox 360. I got a classic Nintendo. I got a Wii. I got a bunch of old consoles laying about here and there. I can play them whenever I want now. But, like, back in those days, you know, when hormones are flowing wild, you kind of you should follow those instincts first before the video games.
Fair enough. Respect.
When I was in that age range, it was the PS2 and the Xbox, so I understand what's up. I was like 10 when I got an N64, so I was a little young for that era, or that stuff. But, you know, I respect it. I understand where you're coming from, and believe me, nowadays, would I rather play a video game or play with some lady? Well, you know the answer. I'm not going to say it on air. But here's the button you requested.
Threats are part of wrestling, you know? But you got to look at the person that's making the threats. This fat son of a bitch is challenging all of us, has been world champions before, been in this business 15, 20 years, and this fat son of a bitch is going to challenge us all out.
Calm down, okay? All right?
He's fat. I'm going
to... about this.
I don't care if he don't... I'll make him bleed.
He's fat. I freaking love that. It's amazing.
His cheeseburger eating ass. Like, he used to go on about cheeseburgers and donuts from the state of diabetes. It's Samoa Joe.
It's amazing.
It was fucking harsh, man. Thank you, Enrique. TLJ Screwjob is back with another... welcome, TLJ Screwjob. He says, fuck, marry, kill, date. Dakota Kai, Alexa Bliss, Bailey, and Liv Morgan. Ooh. Well, I'm killing Dakota Kai because I hate her. My God, do I hate watching her on TV. When she gets beat up, I'm like, yeah, kick her ass.
I only know two of those. I know... Alexa Bliss and Bailey. I mean, I could toss Bailey in date, I guess. Alexa Bliss would be in either marry or fuck. But I don't know who Dakota Kai. Hold on, let me. This is why God invented Google. Okay.
I will. While you're looking that up, I'll kill Dakota Kai. I guess I'll date Alexa Bliss because she's pregnant, and that's kind of weird. Let's see. We got Bailey and Liv Morgan. Whoever is nicer, will marry because they both look nice.
Liv Morgan looks like a diet Alexa Bliss to me.
She's still cute though.
Yeah.
Okay, fuck. I'll fuck her and marry Bailey. There's something I like about Bailey.
As a heel or as the hugger?
Oh, a heel. It'd be way more fun.
Okay. Oh, wow. Yeah, Dakota Kai looks funky.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
She look like a man.
She look like a man. Yeah, so here's the official list. Kill Dakota Kai, date Liv, and then marry Alexa Bliss, fuck Bailey. There it is. I could probably interchange those last two either way, but
you're gonna have a good time either way.
Yeah.
TLJ Screwjob says, "Young script nerd. Wait, jock." Had to dig out my inner Donald Gibb. That man is a legend.
He is.
Jack White, thank you very much. He says, "Jeff, I would like to see you live stream the game Digimon, Cyber Sleuth, and Persona series." Well, you got a better.
Those games are really up Jeff's alley.
Yeah,
I'm the Persona fan though.
I was thinking like Persona's more likely because I got this PS2 emulator I play a lot, and I was thinking if I can just use the StreamYard window to like display that, I think at night, like on a weird Friday night at like 2 a.m. or something when I'm not sleeping, I might just stream like old wrestling games and have you guys just shoot me the shit, be like, hey, kick this chick's ass or beat up this dude or do this or do that. It's like, yeah, no problem. I'll be Trish Stratus and fight Andre the Giant. I'll probably win, no problem. Nice. But yeah, I'll tell you guys this real quick, not to delay the show. I went back to play the old Spider-Man game on PS1. It's still fun, but it is so fucking short. Like, I'm almost through the game. It took me 40 minutes, so, like, yeah.
That is short.
I think I am going to do my first full, like, game video on the channel, and I mean, like, full as in, like, maybe it's a 40-minute to an hour video. I know that sounds crazy, but I have a thesis that old video games, while great, just do not hold the same level of and I don't mean, like, old hard arcade games, but, like, the early 3D games do not hold, like... They're not long. They're not hard. They're just so basic. And I understand the appeal of them was, oh, it's 3D. Like, I love GoldenEye. I didn't realize how small GoldenEye was as a kid. Spider-Man on PS1, that's like a blink and you miss it game. Like, they're great. They're classics. They're in my favorites list. Mm-hmm. But they are so easy. I can't believe that they were considered. Really Ocarina of Time falls into that category, too. It's so short. It's like, how did it take me a summer to beat Ocarina of Time as a kid? I beat that shit in a few days in November. I was like, I'm bored. I'm going to turn on Zelda. I wonder how it plays. Holy shit, is it great still. So, Jack White, thank you for your recommendations. I'll take a screenshot of it, though, because I am willing to give these games a shot. And after I get a couple things set up in my living room, I'll stream some stuff on Xbox and PlayStation 4.
Play some old Nintendo games. Those are a lot more difficult than you give them credit for. Have you ever played the original Batman '89 game for the regular Nintendo?
I have. It is not easy.
No, it is not. But I've actually beaten it. I beat it once in college. It was crazy because they go all out with the Joker animation in that last level. Like, it's pristine for old.
I think the oldest Batman game I played was on Super Nintendo.
Dude, the Super Nintendo had two great Batman games. Batman Returns, that awesome side-scroll and beat-em-up.
Yep.
And then The Adventures of Batman and Robin, based on the cartoon,
which was phenomenal.
A really good game.
You fought Poison Ivy, Clayface, Man-Bat, Riddler. The Riddler maze level was kick-ass.
I love when you fought the Joker. Oh man, that was a great
park.
opener.
Yeah, at the amusement park, that was a great one.
And the cool part was, man, like you went at the Batcave and you like geared up. You picked like what you wanted to take with you on your belt. It felt like you were Batman. I know the Arkham games are bigger and better, but Adventures of Batman and Robin is still up there as one of my favorite Batman games.
Yeah, it's a really good one. I think I have that emulated somewhere on my PC.
Yeah, I've only emulated. I didn't have it as a kid, so I've only emulated it that way. But it still counts. I'm not an original hardware acolyte. I don't give a shit. If it plays, it plays. That's all I care about. Xavier to God. This is our final one of the night, folks. Fuck, marry, kill. Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball GT, and Dragon Ball Super. Andrew, would you like to go first?
Okay. As bad as GT was in a lot of ways, I haven't actually caught up with Super, so I would have to kill that one, and then I'll marry Dragon Ball, the original. Oh, I didn't put Z on here, you schmuck. And fuck GT.
I will marry Dragon Ball, fuck Super, and kill GT, because I only know a little bit. Like, I'm a Dragon Ball Z guy. That was the show. So.
GT also gave me my favorite transformation, so.
Jack White says, I would also like to see you live stream the Mega Man Battle Network games, and I sent you an email with a link to a trailer. Well, I will check out that trailer, Jack. I do like your trailers, and I do watch them. There's a good chance that I'll stream Mega Man X. That's my favorite Super Nintendo game. I can beat it quick, too. Except the Sigma part. That shit's hard. But I do enjoy Mega Man. I enjoy gaming. I just haven't built much of a presence of it online, but I definitely want to, so we can cover a more diverse set of topics, or series of topics here on the channel for everyone. Because, I mean, Andrew and I have talked about games a lot in our free time, and I know, Script knows his games too. So, Jack, thank you. I will play Mega Man. I'll just play it all on an emulator and stream it from my PC. It'll be a lot easier that way. Let's see. Aurora Uplink says, looking forward to a new Let's Watch, hopefully. Yes, Aurora Uplinks. The guys and I are meeting this weekend. We have a whole list of things planned, and that also includes a brainstorming session to give you guys more drunk watches. We wanted to do a summer of bullshit drinking watch parties, but Kendo and Dion have families, and Kendo has some family stuff that he's been taking care of lately. And I moved across the country and have been getting set up here and trying to hit the ground running with YouTube, make Wokebusters happen. A lot of stuff, but not a complaint. Very lucky to do what I do and very thankful for that. So you guys aren't rid of us with our drunk watch parties. We'll be bringing those back to you. We'll have a new list of fun ones. And just wait till Schlocktoberfest. We're going to have a lot of fun stuff too. But I appreciate the recommendations, guys. That's my favorite thing to do, is make content that you guys want to watch. So keep requesting it and we'll make it happen. TLJ Screwjob says, fuck, marry, kill, Bulma, Chi-Chi, and Android 18.
Kill Chi-Chi. Fuck Bulma, marry 18.
I will fuck Bulma, marry Chi-Chi, and kill Android 18 because, marrying or banging a robot's weird to me. I know it's not like a robot. It's an android with, I guess it has feelings, but...
Well, she was made a human at the end of Z.
Oh, I haven't seen the end of Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
Well, then I'll marry her and kill Chi-Chi because she's annoying as shit.
Yeah. Chi-Chi's obnoxious as hell, and Bulma's fucking high maintenance. So.
High maintenance is not worth it.
Nope.
And one more. We have... two more. Oh, no. Yeah. Fuck, marry, kill for Script Wolf. Predator Commando T2 from TLJ Screwjob.
Oh, screw you, Screwjob. Those are Marys of all of them. All three of those.
Yeah, I had to do
You're
this
up
myself.
first, Script. You're up first.
Oh, gosh.
You're the guest.
Commando is really awesome. So I'd probably marry Predator, F Commando. Oh, God. And I would cheat on Commando with T2. I wouldn't kill T2.
I like that answer. I'm going to cheat on this
I've
one.
never seen that as an option, but okay.
It is now.
It's fine. Okay. Kill Commando. Oh gosh. Fuck T2, marry Predator. That's so hard. Those two are pretty much interchangeable for me. I saw those movies when I was like 7. I love those.
You had
movies.
a good childhood.
I freaking love those movies. Those are two of the greatest action films ever.
I agree. You're never going to hear me dispute that at all on the channel. Aurora Uplinks asks, could we have a watch party for Scary Movie 2? Well, let me take a screenshot because that is the second best Scary Movie. I'm a big fan of the first one, but the second one's pretty much almost as funny. So I will tell the guys that's one we want to watch this year, because it'd be fun to go back and basically watch movies that are from an era where films are a lot better than they are today, in terms of comedies at least. So thank you for all the fuck, marry, kills. I never get tired of those ones. And the stink face question wins the award for the best super chat of the night.
That was one I was not expecting.
Nor was I, but I was very happy to indulge for well over the time I thought I'd talk about it. If you don't know what it is, folks, just look it up. TLJ Screwjob did send in another one. Thank you very much. He says, that was the reaction of the WCBS guys when I sent that to them. Fuck, marry, kill script. They were not happy with those fuck, marry, kill 3 films.
Well, no, they shouldn't have been, because those are 3 awesome movies. I mean, Commando alone it's like the unsung secret sequel to Predator for Dutch. Like, Dutch was just the code name. He's really John Matrix. and yeah, he rescued his daughter. And before all the crazy woke stuff, me and a whole bunch of my friends, we all came up with the idea of doing a sequel where it was Alyssa Milano before she went crazy, having to save her father, but it's like shot-for-shot remake and costume-for-costume remake. So we see Alyssa Milano basically in the Speedo with like the body paint on, just killing guys with saw blades and rocket launchers to rescue her dad from Vernon Wells, who's still alive. He just got a hole in his stomach.
I would watch that movie in a fucking heartbeat.
I know, right?
By the way, I'm going to watch Predator as a sequel to Commando with Dion, and our minds are going to be blown.
Love it.
Man, I do too. Script, where can we find you on the internet?
You can find me at what used to be Twitter, at ScriptDoctor PhD. I do have a Patreon, patreon.com/thescriptdoctor, where I do musings, notes, and reviews of various film, television, in screenplay form. So I have a lot of screenplays that I get to read. And when I get permission to share those, I usually put them on my Patreon along with a review, so that you, if you're interested in writing, can see how structure and story and what the competition is like out in the industry over there. And I also have a YouTube channel that I stream on every once in a while and drop some videos here and there when time allows at youtube.com/ScriptDoctor.
Andrew, where can we find you on the internet, sir?
Well, my favorite place is here every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Central for the High Council. However, you can also find me over my Twitch every Sunday evening, usually around 7:45, 8 p.m., where I stream Mario Kart with not only my friends from Discord, but also anybody that joins in the chat is welcome to join. It's my community kart stream. So we have a ton of fun there. And then you can find me all over Twitter, where I am the creative and social media manager for both Ripaverse Publishing as well as Eric July.
Hell yeah, man! He's putting
and
out
eventually
great
you'll see my own stuff.
I'm looking forward to that.
I'm gonna be your like third backer, because I know somebody's gonna beat me to it, and then that person will tell somebody and they'll beat me to it. But then as soon as I know it's live, I'll be number 3, man. So I can't wait to read it.
I'll make sure you guys are the first to know.
Yes. Look, if I get to be the first one, I'll buy the highest tier just because. It's like, yeah, he did it. I want to be the first to buy something of great value. So, folks, be on the lookout for that from Andrew. I know I am. Now, folks, you can obviously find me here on this channel because you're listening to us already here on this channel, so thank you for watching. It's been a fun, exciting evening here on the High Council. This really is becoming the flagship show of this channel. I love the Thursday night show. I love the guys. But man, we get into some great topics tonight. And folks, I time-stamped all of these, so I'm going to be releasing clips and shorts throughout the week of the High Council, because this is the place to be on Tuesday nights. There is not a better, more enlightening place to come to and hang out. We'll talk about entertainment. We'll talk about pop culture. We'll talk about culture in general. But we'll also all learn a little bit of something. And this isn't like PBS learning where it's boring. This is like, oh shit, it's like Mythbusters learning. I didn't know I could survive falling from this type of height. So there you go. Now, with all of that excitement in mind, folks, if you like what we do here on the channel, go to stealingsolo.com. I ship out books every day. What is Stealing Solo? It's my graphic novel I wrote and drew. It's the story of a group of disgruntled Star Wars fans who kidnap Harrison Ford and force him to remake Star Wars in their basement. It's a lot of fun to read. It's been called Laugh Out Loud Funny, the greatest Star Wars parody since Spaceballs, and it's been a big success every time it's been released, this one included. So this is a website that has the original release. I'm going to add the Phantom Menace stuff on there because people have asked about that, but I have international shipping available. Shopify runs the rates and everything like that. So if you're hungry for the book, I just shipped out a new stack to the UK today, which was a lot of fun. People from France, from Japan, people all over are curious about Stealing Solo. So get in on it now because it's getting close to being done. I'm taking a case to Horror Hound. I always sell through a lot of the books at Horror Hound, and I know you guys want it. So stealingsolo.com. I want to thank the dozen or so people that bought a copy on the stream tonight, and that adds you to the lot of other people that have been buying the book now. So folks, be on the lookout for everything from me, including videos, clips, live streams, and more, and join us this weekend. Don't do anything else this weekend except, take care of business and family, but hang out with us at Horror Hound, live from Indianapolis, Indiana. It's the first time in 4 years, and WCBS is back. And this time, folks, we're bringing the world-class element. Be prepared for Suit Saturday. It's going to be an event like no other. And after Suit Saturday at the con, we're heading out to the finest steakhouse in Indianapolis, Indiana, St. Elmo's. We'll be having drinks, steaks. You'll get to join us for some of our light dinner conversation before we chow down. And then we're heading over to a cigar bar to finish out the night and film a lot of other new things, including one of our new little segments. So be on the lookout for that. And remember, folks, we are the epitome of pop culture. But in the meantime, be smart, be safe, be cool, but always be excellent to each other.
.com.